In the future 3, Africans will have a podcast that exposes all my efforts to convince the blacks that black capitalism will help them.
I said these politicians clowns, so let me reiterate it. Just being libs when they was liberated. They killed the Panthers
has been given a lot of attention and a lot of resources where we've literally turned some reactionaries into celebrities and given them hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to go around the world to oppose our effeminization.
The stats show we only care about our figures.
$1 trillion of critical minerals in Ukraine. They could be the richest country in all of Europe. I don't want to give that money. And those assets to Putin to share with China. If we help Ukraine now,
they milking our chocolate, we think we rich. They give us some chips so we can brag. Ay, why they own the potatoes and keep the bag? Now you stacking your Pringles and I ain't mad. Ay, gotta sell that black soul for whitey's cachet.
We're not a racist organization because we understand that racism is just a byproduct of capitalism. Everything will be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people. And we're going to have to put it back in the hands.
My paper chasing past to have me feeling like a hypocrite. The dollars can't compromise the change I'm trying to implement. I use the mic to keep the Decepticons at bay with the same qualms as Noam Chomsky and Kwame Ture, hood socialists. With a new era beret, it's like they neuralize you. We just redo errors, it's crazy. They got new Elijahs, Xing out black messiahs today, trying to neutralize us, just COINTELPRO away. Hey, loyalty, it's rarely immune to pay. These coons come buffoon for the Klansmen that they obey. They discard us, disregard us, we take them back anyway. We easy prey, it's evident by the precedents that we lay. Well adjusted to injustice, our people in disarray. Feel the terror from mega ever scared to go disobey. We recite the words, they fearing the play.
And the millionaires are paupers.
Right. Worldwide net private wealth stood at $450 trillion in 2022. That I just, and to Diallo's point, remember what this number means. This is money. This is wealth produced for private ownership by all of us, extracted from all of us, in all that we do in the economy.
Now these kids, they want more, and before you know it, they'll be capitalists, and before you know it, we have Negro imperialism.
Yeah, what's up, world? Welcome to another edition, 81 to be exact, of Earn Your Liberation, right here on Black Liberation Media. Geechee, y'all finally made it back. Diallo, Jared Ball, what's up, fellas? What's up, remixers? Welcome everybody. Like, share, subscribe, support our Patreon. Starting off Black August in the right way. Welcome everybody.
Jax.
Got my George Jack, and only 5 days left in this demonetized wilderness, everybody. So
you count down them days.
You damn right.
I feel kind of bad.
Wait, you an expensive co-host.
we still in the other demonetization?
Yeah, we've been. It's been a 90-day demonetized. 90 days, man. Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Yeah. I'm feeling. You know, it's real Beastie Boys. You know.
Well, shout out to Diallo for not getting us demonetized.
Yeah.
When have I ever even approached such behavior?
I don't know. You might have said a few things.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Over the days, how y'all feeling, man? Y'all
I
miss
know
me?
the line. I never cross it.
Did y'all miss me or not?
Absolutely. How could we not?
Diallo.
Now you came through the door trying to make accusations, unfounded accusations. You didn't give me enough time to miss you.
My bad, bro. My bad.
And besides, I'm an alpha. We don't experience such emotion.
That's what they're doing in the alpha world today. Peace, chat, fellas, sisters, brothers.
Oh, is this the better Jared? What's up, Matt Cat? Thank you, Andy.
There's a couple people.
Welcome everybody.
Jared on the trip. A lot of people watch Jared's show.
They should. It's dope.
Yeah.
I think the reach of the intellectuals that they bring on and the depth of the conversation is top notch, man. You know. So no, I'm the other Jared now. Just the but yeah, no, and so they should. It's always a great discussion that they have over there. And levels of preparedness, I think, that I'll speak for myself, I don't always reach. So I appreciate what they do over there. Peace, Elon. Good morning, everybody. So yeah, we have a pretty good show. We got a big show. We got a special guest coming up at 9 o'clock. A number of things to catch up on. Where do you want to start, Geechee? You don't want to give us any recap? You don't want to start any? You want to save all of that? And have you all? I will say this.
Yeah.
Have you all been begun? You getting into this?
Yeah.
Who was coming on with me next week to talk about it?
I ain't got no copy.
Oh yeah. I got into it already. I started a good bit of it. Also, I had to hide it in my bag on the way back because that's not a good
traveled with this.
I wasn't thinking going, but coming back, I put it in my. But actually, my man,
you gotta get the Kindle
not
to travel
TSA,
with it.
but my what you call those people?
The TSA, the pre-check, the TSA,
on the way coming back, customs. My customs people.
Oh, customs, yeah. I know they stopped you.
No, actually, I walked up to the counter. The dude was watching a basketball game on his camera, on his phone. He did to get my passport, watch the game.
That's how you do it.
And then he gave me back and watched the game. He said one word to me, so I was like, "Oh, okay."
That's cool. How you do it. You time the travel for big events and catch them like that. You know how to do it. That's how Geechee moves. I'm gonna make it through customs.
No, but next week I'm gonna bring on some one of the Cubans that we was spending a lot of time with, and then a brother that I met on the trip. So I'll bring them on and we'll talk about it in detail next week.
Okay, right on. One thing I got already that I do appreciate. I do think that the personal interaction with the brothers has been I think poisoned. I think the well has been poisoned, but I did reach out to him, and but one thing that I appreciate out the gate is the prevalence that Horn is demonstrating among the left for being willing to consider and engage logically and without diminishment armed struggle. So in other words, he's reminding us, and he's focused just on California primarily.
Mm-hmm.
He's showing that across the left, from the Black power rights to the white left, the discussion, the consideration was taken seriously and should be taken seriously. That's what I'm getting from it so far. So I at minimum appreciate that. And a couple little gems already in terms of some detail. He's deep in the crates, man. I mean, every time I look at a footnote, it's like box this of collection that. So he was in them crates. Yeah, there was one name I was wondering was going to show up, and I don't think it's not in the index. But Eric Mann, I was wondering if he was going to get into that guy. But anyway, yeah. So I'm looking forward to this. Daruba said he saw an interview, wants to talk about it. We might have another special guest join us. And then whenever you all get, because you all at Barter and Build are getting involved, that's been scheduled, right?
Yeah. I don't think we started. I was kind of MIA, but yeah, we'll probably start it this following week if we didn't start it yet.
And then before we even get anywhere, I got a request. There was a So Kevin Rashid Johnson has a new or republished essay on Black August that is out. So Kevin Rashid or RashidMod.com for his artwork. And then, all right, I'll have to find it. We were asked to share an announcement for folks in the DMV are going to be doing some teach-ins around, I think Paca's involved around Black August and around the Black Liberation Army collected works. So I'll find that and I'll post that information before we get out of here. But all right, where else do you all want to go? How are we starting? I
have a few things that I'd like to talk about. One thing that I'm curious, just in discussion mode, is this unity and opportunity thing. Because, you know, I was just talking to you about CornelWest playing footsies with 19 keys. And then on top of that, I got people that I thought was down with me, you know, breaking bread with people who ain't down. I'm not down with for principle reason. It ain't even nothing personal.
Not down with who?
Huh?
Not down with what? What do you mean? For principled reasons.
In terms of working with or publicly aligned with people that I have, you know what I'm saying? I can name names, but then y'all start getting mad at me, calling me unprincipled. So I don't want to name names that who shall not be named, but I'm just curious about this unity shit, because there's like this rift between what you could call unity, because a lot of times unity, people use the concept of unity or Black unity to disguise opportunism. But I figure talking about 19 keys and CornelWest is probably a safer thing, because CornelWest is a figure who calls everybody his brother, and we see him sitting across from right-wing reactionaries, Black grifters, con men, and cult leaders. And then he comes on this platform that we're on and sits across from the Black left.
He's going to be at the National Reparations Summit as well.
So are there lines we shouldn't cross? Do we have to be unified with anybody that makes a claim to be for Black people or make a claim to want to accomplish something? Is that unity, or is that just naked opportunism?
I struggle with this all the time. I used to ask Bob Brown to try to help me understand why Kwame Ture would be willing to build, like, why did he approach the Nation and Farrakhan the way he did? Why did he approach other various religious sectors? And it was always about his preference for organizing and creating a united front, superseded all these other things. I am privately in, well, it's really just my own, a one-sided dispute with an elder and a hero, where I find myself at a very discomforting disagreement over just this issue, where I'm like, how can you continue to work with and support X, Y, and Z when you know this and about X, Y, and Z? And the response is largely, to oversimplify, Jared, get over your personal thing. This is not personal. We got bigger struggle. And I'm like, I don't see this as personal. What maybe was done to me was personal, but it's the principles and poor politics that led to that I'm more interested in addressing. And you willing to continue to unaddress that and work with that is a problem for me. I don't know, man. I don't know. I got people who won't work with me over what I think are unprincipled reasons. So maybe the flip side is like, so I raised a criticism of you and you won't talk to me anymore? Like, how does that work? And all the prior accumulated good work and goodwill is erased over that? So I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
So I thought with Torre, wasn't there some type of resources and protection that NOI was providing. So didn't that make
all of that? Look, all of that.
complicated?
I mean, I remember when Dr. Clark's widow, Mama Sybil, told me a story about Dr. Clark and the nation, as the nation is driving him in some protective custody, you know, to an event. I've had, you know, loving coattails pulled with me. Like, bruh, you call us when you need some security, but you're not really working with us. What's up with that? So I'm like, you're right. There's all kinds. That's a contradiction too. That's a fair criticism too. I don't know, man. But anyway, Bob Brown's response to me, at least, was always that to raise, and he would say it was always the primary focus was on building a Black united front, and that meant you got to overcome religious differences, political differences, and up to a point, I get that, but it's certain. I do feel like there need to be lines of principle that we and I do think. Just lastly, I did reach out to Dr. West previously about ADOS. I think we tried to talk about it with him on here, and I think I don't want to speculate as to why that didn't work, but it didn't work.
Well, to me, it goes beyond, because to me, I know y'all might disagree, but I think principles can be abstract. I think ideologies, goals, methodology, stands, track record, precedents, there's a whole lot there beyond just that maybe are encompassed by principles, but people tend to, principles is such a broad concept that, you know, we have common principles, you know, like, yeah, Black first or pro-Black, that's a common principles. And then you leave everything else in the gutter, because I think lines need to be drawn. And I think there are many people that I disagree with, that I can break bread with, that I can work with, but there are certain lines you can't cross. You know, when people's ultimate outcome is capitalistic, imperialistic, jingoistic, such as ADOS, you know, besides being Black, what do they have in common? So I think that it's not unity, it's opportunity. I think these bonds are made out of convenience, expediency, and to lift profiles or to extract resources. I think, as you said, this principled unity is some of the most unprincipled shit. And if lines can't be drawn, and if people in the community can't see clear distinctions between various factions within the Black community as a collective, or see various lines being drawn between factions within the so-called conscious community. But if people just see you can just hop from bed to bed and then show your and disguised or hide your unprincipled behavior behind principle and this other abstract concept of unity, it's bothersome. And I see a lot of strange bedfellows. I see a lot of people who claim to have divergent goals, divergent values, a lot of people breaking bread and sitting across from extremely compromised individuals or aligning themselves with extremely compromised organizations, but then then they're able to come back over here to the left after going to play footsies with the right. And if you don't stand for shit, you fall for anything.
So I think I agree, and I also would be curious Jared's response to the subjective or the abstract principle thing. But I do think there's a constant thing of like people to be organizing to escape personal responsibility, people to create an image of themselves in front of the camera or in another place, but won't engage in different processes to be held accountable for whatever reason. We've seen that around here, whatever. But I wonder, Jared, if you believe that this idea of principle is organization specific, like, you know, so because I guess I hear the word, as Diallo was saying, I hear it, and sometimes it's just like, you know, so-and-so get the name, what principle is, what is a principle move, what is not a principle move. Do you think that is relative to just your organization or your faction, or
I don't know. I mean, sometimes, I mean, I do like when, you know, that was one of the issues that I did have with, and I tried to raise at the time when we had the public critique from Black myths of the platform, was the invocation of Mao and the whole thing of confronting liberalism was in the context, my issue was that Mao was writing in the context of a specific organized movement, as opposed to a YouTube platform that was not built as a political organization and developed in that way. So I do think that there are some things that are specific to organization, and then there's some broader principles that should apply across the board. And then I think there are different principles that apply depending on the formation. If you're, again, if you're a mass organization or if you're something else, different principles, you know, again, with some broad overarching principles that you know, again, should broadly hold. But my issue is that, in addition to what you've just said, is that, again, I'm happy to, maybe not happy, I'm willing to confront and suppress my subjective personal suffering, etc., if that is in service of addressing the flawed politics analysis or refusal to apply certain principles of a certain individual or group. If it's to the point that I think you were getting at, if it's done in service of protecting bad actors and a lack of accountability, that's where I struggle. It's like, I don't know, and I have not figured out. I don't know exactly where the line is and how to figure that out, and to yeah, because I do think there are certain things, like if we just don't get along individually, that should not prevent our ability to work together to a broader goal, if that broader goal is understood and agreed upon. And I don't always think we're on that same page. So we don't have the conflict or the confrontation or the discussion or the debate, and it allows everyone to just sort of go back to their either flawed or perhaps better standard of principle and behavior. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I don't think I'm being very clear here. But go ahead.
I think we need to move from principled and unity to terms and conditions. Yeah, I think that shit needs to be clear. You know, it's certain shit you just don't do, as Mos Def said. You know, I don't break bread with sexist, capitalist, fascist, anti-black, anti-African. There's certain things where I know in the name of
but
unity,
let me ask you this, Diallo, because this is, I get that, but this is where, so for instance, if you say you don't break bread with sexists, how then do you assess the level of someone's sexism if you have not borne witness to it and are responding to someone else's accusation?
Oh, that's another thing. To me, I only deal with more self-exposure. If it's being accused of being, because people contact me all the time, so and so is this, so and so is that. I need to verify it, and I just go off of what I call the self-exposure protocol. So I don't go off of what somebody tells me about another person. I'll go off of what that person themselves demonstrates and articulates.
So that's your investigation process. So when they say no investigation, no right to speak.
Of it, yes. Okay. But if someone comes and tells me something, and I don't know, like I just have to start fucking saying names, like Irritated Genie. Genie.
Please don't do that again.
Has articulated
the litigious
reactionary, right-wing, misogynistic points of views and advocacy in his ideology. And then when his wife came out and did a whole series of abuse, that reinforced that conclusion. So there's generally, whenever you're trying to discern whether something's real or not, there's always tends to be a convergence of details and a convergence of evidence. So I'm not going to throw someone away, because I have had people contact me and it's like, oh, I saw you with so-and-so. He's garbage. He's trash. He's problematic, or she's not real. I don't just like, oh, wow, okay. because you get pulled in every direction, and people sometimes reveal stuff for their own. So I'm very cautious. I'm very cautious about what I accept about a person and the conclusions I reach. The conclusions I reach about an organization or an individual are as well grounded, from my point of view, as the conclusions I reach about ideology, about capitalism, about imperialism, about socialism, about Pan-Africanism. It's a lifelong inquiry. So I'm constantly collecting information, reassessing, dissecting, and reconstructing. But a lot of times it doesn't even require that much, because many of these treasonous individuals are like I said, they enthusiastically self-expose themselves. And so a lot of times we act like we need more information or we need more investigation when everything we need is laid out before us, but we don't want to make the unnecessary or the uncomfortable or the unpleasant conclusions, or we don't want to inconvenience ourselves by taking a hard stance or taking a hard position. So a lot of times this investigation aspect of it or confirmation aspect of it is not the problem, because I mean, what more do we need to know? Some of these activists and some of these leaders and some of these organizations have been around for a quarter of a century, half a century or more.
But do you think there's like a so I hear that, but do you think there's a difference when you are involved in that conflict or accusations and you are external of that? So outside seeing is one thing, but when you're involved in it and you had a particular experience, you believe that your experience is correct before anybody even get to investigate it or ask both sides or whatever. Like, there's a thing about you that you experience something. This is how you think it happened or feel it happened, and you're willing to argue for that, and you want people to kind of like come to the same conclusion you have because you feel like you have the truth. So do you think it's different when you're involved in it as opposed to being outside of it trying to determine who's right or wrong?
Do I think what is different? My conclusion or my clarity?
Well, even your clarity or conclusion, like you could, if you're in the situation, you could be more biased because, you know,
right,
you would want people to come to your conclusion.
Again, that's why we have to engage in critical analysis. We have to not just collect data, but sift through the data, verify the data, get supporting conclusions, because this is serious. You know, it's easier to join the revolution than it is to get a job at McDonald's. McDonald's scrutinizes its employees more than the revolution scrutinizes our leaders. We don't have no application, no verification, no reference check. No, I mean, and so there's a lot of predatory, problematic, reactionary, right-wing, divergent individuals running around saying everything. I'm a revolutionary, I'm a Pan-Africanist, and then they go and what's really problematic, you get a lot of really young and enthusiastic people who come into the struggle and get exploited, get turned around because we or the principled individuals in the struggles don't want to call out or seem to be attacking other people for the sake of unity.
But so this is the issue, though, Diallo. One of the many issues is that, so for instance, in one of my personal examples happening right now, I go to person X and say to person X, you continuing to work with person Y is a problem for me because person Y did this, that, and the third to me, representing, which is emblematic of person Y's flawed politics and lack of principle. But person X tells me they have a long-standing good relationship with person Y, and similar to your point about the claims of sexism, they can't report or they don't have a similar experience with person Y that I have. So now I'm going to person X and saying, but I'm the one bringing you this information. That should carry some weight, but but similar to, and this is so similar to what I see happening potentially with this 19 Keys CornelWest collabo, is person X is saying to me, I'm trying to build something bigger than you, Jared. I'm trying to build something bigger than your relationship with person Y or my relationship with person Y or our relationship with I don't have time to investigate and go into. And then what is it, as this person asked me, literally, what is it that you want me to do? Now that you've given me this information, what would you really have me do? So my point is, if CornelWest is trying to build something bigger than Jared and Diallo and 19 Keys, what amount of time should he put into when Jared sends him an email saying, why are you building with these? Do you know who these ADOS cats are? Do you know who 19 Keys is? First of all, West would say, I'm assuming,
my brother.
I barely know you.
John, then he'd reference John Coltrane.
Oh, but my point is, I barely know you. And to be fair to him, what would we expect him to then do? Does he have a research team that could dedicate untold hours as he's trying to build a campaign to investigate my claim and the counterclaims and that claim and this claim? Or does he proceed to go onto a platform with 1.5 million viewers, subscribers, and sit with a guy who packs arenas as he travels around the country?
But I think that goes back to Diallo's point, though, like because everybody gets pulled into the revolutionary on the left or whatever they want to say. There's a lot of performative things that happen that people accept as principle or the right thing or the right line. So there's a lot of performance that's going on. So who's to say who's on the left and why? Or who's to say that anything that this brother have ever said was what he feel, or he wasn't shucking and jiving?
He didn't pack the arenas when he was in Baltimore. My bad. He seen me. He went on a tour.
Man,
my
listen,
bad.
This video shows that he's more in solidarity with 19 Keys than any of us ever.
Look different.
Yes, sir.
Southside Chicago gonna look different.
Yes,
it's
sir.
not to say we don't have pockets up. We do. You all, work you're doing right now, courageous, visionary, but it's not as pervasive as we would like.
Yes, sir.
Because the love that we have for our people means we got to love them, correct them, challenge them, affirm them, and never allow them to fall prey to wholesale illusion. And if we tell Black folk right now, this is the best we can do, or the standard you all are setting is the standard that all the other young folk are saying, no, that's not true. You all are setting a high standard, and everybody else has to come to terms with those standards, even as you all continually learning and growing and maturing like everybody else.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it would be like us playing basketball. Michael Jordan show up. We say, oh, shoot, he's just like everybody else. No, he ain't.
Right.
That brother setting the standard.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Curtis Mayfield setting the standard. Aretha set the standard. They ain't like everybody else. They human like everybody else, but they set a standard. So is true in politics. So is true in economics. So in true in spirituality. So in true in our relationships with each other and so forth. And all of us are going to fall short at some time.
Yes, sir.
All of us.
Now I know.
So much.
I know we're not.
Court's top thought leader.
No, he said a lot of things. So first of all, these cats who selling you gold water and some other silly shit is setting a standard, and the way in which they're moving, as Cornel say, is allowing people to measure up to them and not be caught up in illusion. So these clowns aren't selling illusions; they're selling the real thing, and everything else outside of that is illusion. I'm
gonna co-sign you a little bit, see if I can help you out this way. Because over this little break I've been on, I went and revisited Mary Clayton's catalog after seeing her in a few years ago in not knowing much about her, admittedly, until I saw her in that 20 Feet from Stardom documentary, where she was, and one of the points she makes in that is that her career was sidelined because there could only be one Aretha. And if you go back and listen, so when he says, for instance, Aretha set a standard, Aretha was amazing, no doubt. But Aretha, like all the other luminaries that we are often encouraged to know about, benefited from a white capitalist structure that said, we're only letting there be one. So when you go back and listen, I invite others to do this and check me on this. I went back and listened carefully to Mary Clayton's catalog. You cannot, I would need some convincing to tell me that she's not every bit as good, and that there are others that would have been every bit as good. So my point in what CornelWest is getting wrong here is that he's following and saying that the Black people who are setting the standards, like 19 Keys now, are doing so based on their ability to not upset a white capitalist corporate structure that wants to promote and benefits from the promotion of that singular Black luminary or that singular acceptable standard for Black fame and popularity. So I agree with you in the sense that what is the standard that we're being told is being set, and on whose basis is that standard itself being determined? And you know, so I throw that out there. Out there.
But again, real quick. So to the performative part, like, it's easy to say you're setting the standard. And I mean, I didn't watch the whole interview. I watched a couple clips, including that whole clip. But going into detail, what y'all are doing, the work, again, when you could just say the work that y'all doing, and then that's it. Like, and the work is probably inclusive of them being able to build a particular audience, a particular size of audience for him to talk to. But what is the work, and how do you get to this large audience? Is not going to be talked about. It's just like, again, the frames and clips that we get is like 19 Keys is doing work because he has this audience, and because he brings people on stage like this, and because Diddy and EYL and all these other things. So again, the work, even with organizing, I think Diallo said this before, but everybody said they organize, and then you have to ask, organize what? Because sometimes people organize cliques, organize themselves into cliques, and that's it. And they don't even have a whole plan for the people who's supposed to be organized. So, but go ahead, Diallo.
I also think with this Black unity thing is that African people have this legitimacy complex, that feel that if we are not all unified, then we're somehow, what we're doing isn't legitimate. I think unity is overplayed. I think unity is misunderstood. I think that we can be distant, separate, and even in open conflict within our community and within our community without that, because people think, well, if we ain't unified, then that's why we fall, or it's our lack of unity, where there's this myth that our lack of unity is the reason we're oppressed. Our lack of unity is the reason we're impoverished. And African people are oppressed by a wealthy, powerful people who have engaged in ongoing internal violent conflicts with each other. We sit here and watch white people control the economy and have a global entrenched empire and run up in their own Capitol building and smear feces on the wall. So I think Black people, I don't know where we got this obsessive fixation on unity, when our unity is only as good as the outcomes it produces. If the three of us have come together, the three of us are unified, we communicate regularly, we coordinate, and the product of our unity is the Earn Your Liberation program and other things. And so our unity is only valid because of what it has produced. But we got people out here literally engaged in unity for unity's sake. And so proud that they'll go sit across the stage at an ADOS FBA conference. And we got people like CornelWest, prominent individuals, James Smalls, very prominent individuals sitting across from people, are giving validation to movements and organizations that are, every component of it is in contradictory to what they have claimed to stand for. For James Smalls, over his long career, even if you go back and read Claude Anderson and Claude Anderson's books from 20 years ago, Dirty Little Secrets, Powernomics and all that, and then he's sitting across where he was saying that one of the biggest issues and one of the biggest hindrance to Black power and Black development in this country was the fact that we weren't able to import enough Africans from the Caribbean and from the continent. Whereas Europeans have been freely allowing other Europeans to migrate and be integrated into the system, Africans were locked out of the country. And an advocate for African and Caribbean African migration into the United States as a means for building up Black power and Black solidarity, to sitting on the stage and advocating for ADOS. So this unity shit, unity can be harmful. And I see this other individual, I'm trying to be considerate, poaching people from my circle. And these people go about poaching people because we're so afraid of being disunified. We don't want to tell on other people. We don't want to speak to it. And to me, it's not personal. You find somebody, I've been around for a minute. I've never gone to somebody and say, don't engage with this person or this group because I don't like them, because they did something to me personally. My thing is always, what is their stance? What outcomes do they seek? It's ideological, and it's over a long spirit of track record, because everybody fucks up. Everybody has a misstep. Everybody takes a problematic position, on and on and on. But when somebody has an unbroken track record of fuckery, and we still can have unity with them, I think we need to or what I call it, soiled solidarity.
But again, some people don't know that track record. That's what I'm asking though, because like that happened to me just recently. Somebody was brought to me to work with and co-signed by some others that I was willing to work with. So I worked with them. Their extended track record was made known to me very late. So that's why I'm saying that it's not that I'm disagreeing with you per se. What I'm trying to raise up here is the complication around how do people assess how do they assess that track record? When are they supposed to move, and in what way? Like that person is saying to me, what you want me to do?
I think that's a valid question. That's the valid question. If CornelWest say, what do you want me to do? I say, don't sit across from 19 Keys. And if your handlers are insisting that you go break bread with 19 Keys, don't play footsies. Call out his bullshit to his face.
Should I invite CornelWest back here again? I was told he was busy the last time. Should we invite him back?
He's too big for you now. Y'all had him when he was
had a chance
on the camera. His rookie card. You should have bought it. The price ain't coming down.
Coming down.
He's too
Shout
big
out to
now.
Yassine.
He had kind of faded into obscurity, and he was creeping on a come up. And he used Black Power media to kind of get his Black Power, Black conscious, Black radical, Black left chops validation. Y'all gave him that validation. He used Black Power media as a launch pad. And now that he's up there with 19 Keys, I'm pretty sure he's going to turn up with Cuddly Mike and all the other icons. And y'all never getting him back on here. You fumbled the bag. Y'all had him. You should have went at him when you had him.
I think he got.
You could email him too.
When he was there.
Who, me?
Hey, didn't y'all invite Diallo one time? Y'all invite him to come on one time?
We did, and Diallo disappeared. Diallo didn't show up. Diallo said,
I would have done this. I would have done that.
I forgot the link. You didn't send me the right. It was all kinds.
I think if I got nothing else, if y'all bring somebody on this platform that I have issues with, or if someone comes on here that I don't even know and states something that's an issue, I'll call it out.
One day, I can't wait for the.
At least give me that one, y'all. Come on.
Yeah,
I can't wait for the Black Power media chapter of my memoir is going to be deep. I can't wait for that.
Shouldn't be no way. I've been telling y'all to tell it all. Get butt naked.
Can't do it.
Get butt naked.
So Diallo. So all jokes aside, though, now that you are on the other side of the curtain, so to speak, and part of the collective, you are in the exact same position that you are now being critical of me for being in. So do your thing.
I did it already. What's left to be done? I did it. I told. Steve Coakley said. Steve Coakley.
He said, "I told."
Steve Coakley was not the most prolific scholar and speaker during the Black Books movement during that era and the resurgence of the Black Power era of the 90s. But one thing that made Steve Coakley stand out from all of his other peers from that era is he named names. If you ever go to a Steve Coakley lecture, there's like literally wheelbarrows full of newspaper clippings and magazine clippings, and he then took people's books and ripped
you
them
know what
apart,
else you notice?
And he would name names.
And you know what else you notice at those lectures that I went to every week at Georgia Cafe, which is now a Starbucks, is that he was by himself.
And that's what y'all scared of.
No, well, that's the
Dr.
point.
Clark said
No.
it's better to walk into hell alone than into heaven with a bunch of fools.
You're also talking about the man that said Pan-Africanism or perish, meaning you got to build a Pan-African unity. That's not how you're. That's not how Clark. You're mischaracterizing. So that's a mischaracterization.
It's damaging us. It's harming us.
But the point still is, if all you are is a solo practitioner calling out names and not building anything, then what I mean. That's the point. That was my point. Coakley was not building an organization. Coakley was not advocating a movement. Coakley did not Coakley had no public policy agenda. He had no movement. He didn't. He didn't.
That's not true. None of that's true.
It absolutely absolutely is true. And you're talking to somebody who knew his work very well, traveled with him briefly. I followed his work. I was there every week, listened to all the tapes, all the interviews. He was not doing that. That's not the work he was doing.
How about this? Let's close this segment with this answer. Real quick.
What you're asserting is...
Wait, before we keep going.
What I'm asserting is that it's more complicated than you're giving it credit for. I'm not trying to disrespect him. I'm saying it's more complicated than you're saying. It's not just as simple as call everybody out. And
I never said call anybody.
I mean, that was your first. That was your first thing.
I never said call everybody out,
even when you don't have the full information.
First of all, I'm talking about. I specifically said these prominent individuals. That's why I said 19 Keys and ADOS. I'm talking about people who are at the forefront. Like, what you gonna call out somebody? I can come on here and say Jabbo Jones. Don't nobody know who the hell that is, and whatever issues I have with him.
Obviously, that's not what I meant by everybody. Come on, Diallo, don't do that.
Okay, fine.
You know that's not what I meant by everybody.
On that, I ain't out here trying to call everybody out.
All right, so look,
I'm calling out these compromised individuals and organizations, and these other people who are supposed to have a stance and a leadership position, sitting across. I think CornelWest is a very good example of that. Like I said, he'll show up on Black Power Media. He'll show up, and then you claim, I won't even go there, but that's just a whole nother discussion. And then he'll go sit across from Joe Rogan or that British right winger, used to be a liberal comic, and now he's a right wing grifter. What's that guy's name? And sit across from motherfuckers like that, racist white boys, and call them his brother. And then sitting across from cult leaders, and then going to ADOS conferences. I mean, if you down with everybody, you down with nobody. If everybody your brother, nobody's your brother. And I see a lot of that happening within the struggle, and we ain't got no terms and conditions.
It's not that it's again.
We ain't got no lines. And Russell Brand, thank you, Drums of Liberation. Russell Brand, how you sit across from a Russell Brand and call him your brother when he's steeped in the right wing?
I mean, but when has Cornel been any different though? Like when has he been different? Like
CornelWest was different. CornelWest was different back when he was with Skip Gates, and they were taking a principled stand against these demagogues of Black scholarship. He was very clear when he was calling out Professor William Mackey and Dr. Clark. Even though I didn't agree with him, he drew a line and said, these folks is on some other shit while I'm on this shit. And I'm going to call them out in the New York Times and other prominent places. It was a time.
So he's always been on the wrong side.
Wait a minute though. But that's very different. So wait. But that's very different from what we're talking about here. So
Geechee asked me.
No, I get it. But my point though is that it's one thing. And I saw Anthony's comment. Yes, Steve Coakley had me in the audience too, and that's my point. But I was there in the audience to listen to Steve, and with all due respect, because he was an independent scholar, to buy his tapes, to pay for the lectures, to get him college speaking gigs. That's why so I was not there to participate in the building of some organized movement that had some clear objectives, goals, principles, etc. So there's just, and it's one thing for Steve Coakley to call out as he appropriately did, a lot of the major popular figures in Congress and political apparatchiks and all these other things like that. It's another thing, and this is not, I don't recall this too often, if really at all off the top of my mind, where Coakley was challenging others who are nominally in these left or alternative spaces. And that's kind of what I'm more talking about here. So it would be, so CornelWest can easily go out there and he'll get in screaming matches with right-wing Fox News pundits, and he'll get into it with Michael Eric Dyson, and he'll do all those kinds of things. But when it comes to distinguishing on distinguishing himself from elements of that marginalized left, broadly speaking, or alternative, whatever, I don't know that he's going to be even aware enough to do that about who they are. Like, he's going to be more aware of the people he sees on Fox News and MSNBC than he's going to be aware. Does he really know 19 Keys? Does he really know Yvette and them and what they're doing? Does he really? And I don't think he really understands. I really don't know that I'm not defending it. What I'm saying though is
to an audience.
Come on.
That's what I'm saying. He's going to and then it becomes tricky if you're doing a broad-based, particularly now, an electoral campaign. You're not going to be getting into it. You're not going to refuse a 1 million person subscriber platform to go on there and say that 19 Keys and them ain't shit, and you know, Diallo and them are right.
Would you go on there?
Well, Jared is not running for president right now either, so I think that's a little different.
Cornel, but that's another discussion.
In all honesty, if I was running a campaign, or if I was being asked as a spokesperson of some organized effort, yeah, I would. Would I, if they called me, I would have to have a conversation to have my ego checked. If they called me now and said, I dare you to come on here and debate me now, I would be like, well, why shouldn't I? But like I said with Yvette and them, I told, you know, Mark Lamont Hill, like, I'm not interested in having another argument with her that is disingenuous and phony, et cetera, and so forth, when they could have a better representative of these politics engage her. So I don't, and then there are people who I won't work with anymore either, that I do, but I'm told I'm mistaken. So I'm trying to give some room for that. Really what I'm trying to do is give some room for those who are telling me that, Jared, you are mistaken for being unwilling to work with certain people or engage certain people because they have a lack of principle. I got told somebody around here recently said how had some harsh words from me because I was unwilling to go at Willie D after he called me out the way he did. They were like, but if Willie D had a PhD, you would have debated him, but you disrespect him as a lowly. And I was like, that's wild. I was like, but he called me a coon. I was like, why should I engage? He called me a raccoon. I was like, but so there are people I won't engage, and there are people who I would no longer speak to based on what I've seen them do to me or others or their political whatever. But what I'm also trying to say is that I don't think CornelWest would have had any direct experience with 19 Keys or anyone else that would have shown him some unprincipled behavior. And I don't think he's performed enough of an assessment of their overall politics to reach the appropriate conclusion about that. And then, as we've already said, his proclivity is to see everybody as a brother and to engage that way and so on and so forth. And we've disagreed with him on this platform.
I mean, I also think it's important not to, obviously Earn Your Leisure's whole tactic was to build a large base to attract different celebrities. And so there's not too many people who wants to build a platform, who wants to build some type of power, who wants some type of resources that's going to turn down 1.5 million subscribers. Like that's what's happening. That's what is going. And so if he's running for office, if he's trying to build up his name, that's why he's going there. And will he do any research on these people to find out how and what to critique them about? That's not happening.
I don't think running for president is an excuse.
No, I don't think it's an excuse, but I think it's objective.
And the Daughters of the Confederacy invited me to speak and got 1 million folks for me to speak to. I'm not fucking going to speak to the Daughters of the Confederacy. And if you
he would, because he's gonna call them sisters and brothers and try to win them over.
But even that's not a fair comparison to 19 Keys, though.
That's prominent, then what I would do, because I would. But like I said, it would be an adversarial thing. I would walk into that understanding. I'm here to fucking call this shit out. I'm here to call this shit out. I'm not going to sit and talk about, oh, you're a legend and you're Michael Jordan and Aretha Franklin of this black shit. Like,
so, but when I'm being told,
no ADOS convention, I'm not going to no FBA reparations march. And I think, like I said, there are a lot of predatory and grifter elements within the Black liberation struggle. And I think that we should be doing internal critique and internal call out as aggressively as we call out the Democratic Party, as aggressively as we call out external hostility. In fact, it would outrages me more to see people within my community and within the struggle grifting and scamming and lying and preying upon the best people. And a lot of people come into this movement and are very enthusiastic, and they encounter way more scammers and grifters, and all they know is, well, this guy, he quotes Marcus Garvey, he's a descendant of Frederick Douglass, and oh yeah, he's cool with all these other guys. I think it should be very clear who we stand with and who we don't stand with. And you can't get down with everybody. And if we unify with everybody, if we got solidarity with everybody, then it's empty and worthless. What's the point of unity if anybody can get it? The humans fundamentally understand you value shit based on its complexity, its rarity, and how hard it is to obtain. So I think unity and solidarity is something that we have to cultivate. That should be something we have to work for. And once we get it, it's something we should cherish, and something that's relatively easy to lose because it's something that is valuable. We just give it out because we don't really value it. We just give it out because we don't really cherish it. But we all like to talk about it like it's something that matters to us, unity. But we treat unity like it's a inexhaustible resource.
So in that, we can close here, but in that discussion, CornelWest was saying that, even the worst of us has good in us, and even the good in us have bad. And he tried to compare Martin Luther King. He was the best of us, but he was hell with those ladies, as he said. Asked his sisters about him. So what do you, Jared, believe is grounds for to not fuck with these people anymore, or to, like, I guess they say don't throw people away, but what layer or level do you be like, okay, this person is out, there's no repairing of this person? And I mean, I don't know if Diallo has the same answer. He just answered.
I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. I don't, because what I found I'm even currently experiencing that I'm stuck in is, when does the calling out relatively publicly become a hindrance to broader work being done? And what I keep being told, at least in this moment, is my desire to call out and confront is personal, subjective, not tactical, not appropriate to trying to build broad base, more popular efforts. I don't know. So personally, and I've also been accused of this. I thought it was kind of funny. So a couple of years ago, I think I've shared this before. I was in an email, and long story short, someone accused me of being too quick to burn bridges. And my response to them was something like, well, please be specific. What bridges have I burned, and what was my reasoning for it? Because I keep saying, if I'm burning a bridge, you're trifling. You are out of principle. You have gone way out of pocket. So but I've constantly been told that I need to again, that was held against me is my point. And I was like, in this one instance, I was like, but look at what that person did. Now you want to keep working with them because you like them, you respect their public work, you respect their analysis, but look at what they're doing. Look at their behavior. Look at how trifling that was. And then look at, what they did to me. And they say, well, you're subjective. And I'm saying, I get it. I'm responding to something that was done to me. I get that. But I keep thinking, and maybe this is inappropriate, maybe I'm caught up in the subjectivity. I keep thinking that what I'm saying was done to me is indicative of something far worse about their behavior. Now, I will also just end here. It's been brought to me in a variety of ways that what I'm saying now, not being clear about as happening to me, is similar to not to what women have experienced with accusations of sexual misconduct, but similar to what they've experienced when they've brought that claim to other people. In other words, people are saying the response has often been, you want me to operate and behave in a certain way vis-a-vis someone else based on what you're saying they did to you. And when people don't move in that way, it becomes abusive, hostile, et cetera, and so forth, even as those people are trying to ask and assess and ascertain what is the standard and what is the evidence and how am I supposed to engage. And that's what I'm saying. I say all that to say I'm really struggling with this. I don't know. And I think Diallo, I think you're at least not far from being correct if you're not fully correct. I just think I think we disagree often on this show, is that I think you don't give enough room to consider the application of your accurate analysis in the real world. And that's where if that makes sense, that's where I struggle.
My analysis comes out of the real world, and that's where I apply it.
Okay.
I don't just talk it, I live it. And I think we're giving complexity to this shit that it doesn't even need. And I
but
think
you see it happening right now.
Like,
that's why I'm wild. I don't understand how you're seeing it with us right now. So I don't understand why you feel inhibited in your own behavior and the impact of your own behavior right now. So I don't understand why you're not even able to see that, even as you may be correct analytically, the way it plays out in real time is more complicated than that.
So let's let's table there so we can get our guests in, because it's already 9.
All right,
we can pick that back up.
All right, so let's take a quick break. We'll come back with our very special guest with much more right here on.
It's time for our next segment right here on Earn Your Liberation.
All right, everybody, welcoming back to the program, MLSmith, who, among many other things, is the founder, I believe, of the Missouri Justice Coalition, and the director, founder and director, co-founder, director, something like that. But good to see you again. Welcome back to the platform.
Peace.
Good morning, all. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, so I did actually found 2 years ago my own organization, which is Missouri Justice Coalition. And basically, I help our people in cages, overall. But also, and before that, right, I started doing this work with the death penalty abolition movement. And so I'm co-director of Missourians to Abolish the Death Penalty as well.
Okay.
So I wear a lot of hats, and, it's exhausting, trying to free your people, but it's definitely something that I'm dedicated to. And I appreciate you guys for having me on this morning.
I think if you have time, I think we should ask her to chime in on this question after we handle the business.
I've been listening this morning.
Yeah.
I have been listening. And, I agree with all points. So, yeah.
Right on. So I know you reached out for a particular issue. You got the website and your whatever the name tag is there. So please catch us up, and I'll add the links to in the show description. The link to your main organization is already there, but I'll add these as we go. But please update us on what's happening here.
Okay, so thank you so much. So yeah, so this week I kind of started, the media tour of the current campaign I'm working on. And again, it's about this state murdering a Black man. It's this is probably the third time I've been here talking about this. And sadly, we keep having to have these conversations. But presently, I'm working on a case of Marcellus Williams. He is also known by Khalifa because he is Muslim. And that's the name that he, took up when he became Islamic. So Khalifa is on Missouri's death row, and he is scheduled to be executed on September 24th. Now, with his case, of course, the main thing that we're fighting for is the fact that Khalifa is innocent. Now, I know that, people, throw around the word innocence a lot, right? It's kind of become this thing where it doesn't mean a lot because it's, something that people toss out, without much forethought. But when me and my organization, put forth someone's innocence, we have something to back that up with, right? So in Khalifa's case, since he was convicted over 20 years ago, there has been DNA testing, more than one DNA test that all proved that he was not the perpetrator of this particular murder. And also there was no evidence other than two, informants basically who testified against him during his trial. And with this evidence, with the confirmation of the DNA results, his attorneys have been fighting, right, for, like I said, 20 years to free him, to get him free, not only from the prison, but specifically to stop his execution. And our state currently is saying, our state leaders, our governor and attorney general are saying, yeah, we don't care nothing about he innocent. We don't care nothing about the DNA doesn't match him. We got a Black man that we can kill, and that's what we trying to do. So it is definitely a fight. It is definitely something that we're not going to give up. We have hope. He has a great legal team. The Innocence Project actually represents him, and they're amazing lawyers. So with their legal expertise and our advocacy, we are trying to advocate, amplify, really get the word out to our community and do all we can to support Khalifa in this time. And this is actually the third time he's had an execution date. So this is a situation where this state is continually pushing to murder this man.
Which is itself another form of torture too, to keep giving a date and then what you mean? What you mean we don't care about the DNA? Like, how does that? I mean, I get the ideas behind the scene, but how does that work in a courtroom? We're just gonna ignore the DNA? Like, what?
Yeah, and that's kind of like I've actually been thinking about that a lot lately because the last 20 years is DNA. But when you really break it down, first of all, courts are biased, right? It's always biased towards the prosecution. But when we break it down, the DNA really only matters to the prosecution, to the people, the state that's prosecuting a person when it finds a person guilty, right? When it matches that person. If this DNA in this case had matched Khalifa, the Attorney General of Missouri would be plastered on TV every day yelling about how this DNA matched him, right? You wouldn't be able to shut him up. You know what I'm saying? But since the DNA doesn't match Khalifa, the Attorney General has been trying to keep it out of courts. And it's interesting because after they were the tests were conducted in 2016, to this day, and I'll talk about August 21st, but from 2016 to right now, this evidence has not been introduced in court because the Attorney General in the state of Missouri has pushed to keep this evidence out of being in front of a judge and actually being, reviewed and coming to the court record. The Attorney General is actively pushing to stop that. And that's why the DNA doesn't matter, because it doesn't align with their story. So they're trying their best to not even, he won't even talk about the DNA testing. Nothing.
So on the 21st, what is set to gonna happen? Like, this is the first time they're gonna review it? Like, what are they saying that they will do?
So locally, so there are two actors here. There's our local prosecutor and local courts, and then there's the Attorney General of state and the governor. We do have a new prosecutor, not the prosecutor that put Khalifa on death row. He's not in office with his horrible self, but we have a new prosecutor, and that prosecutor has reviewed the DNA test. Once the testing was conducted, that prosecutor reviewed it, like, okay, yeah, something's going on. So because his office brought the case originally, his office is trying to bring the case back to court and say, hey, let's review this case, let's stop it. So on August 21st here in St. Louis, there will be a court hearing in St. Louis County Court, and this will be the first time that this evidence has come before a judge to be adjudicated, which means to be reviewed, considered, and actually made a decision on. And all of this time, the Attorney General has been pushing back, but the local court has taken it up, and right now a hearing is scheduled for August 21st, which means I am trying my best to get my people out to support. You know, we're right now planning on getting folks, whoever can come to St. Louis. We're going to be, you know, giving people gas cards, maybe flying a few folks in, trying to get some hotel rooms. We're just going to try to do everything to get community out to support Khalifa that day, because, you know, a lot of people assume, oh, that's just that one case. As we, you know, y'all know, this happens all the time. You know, they convict us wrongfully. They cage our people. I told somebody, it irritates me because they literally disappear Black men into the system. And until we address that, till we focus on it, until we really do something about it, the system is going to continue disappearing our people and our men specifically. So yeah, August 21st will be the first time the court reviews the evidence, and we are hopeful that, you know, his attorneys will present a good case and that he will be exonerated and, most importantly, not executed the following month.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for raising this up. So I'm, you know, we got people signing the petition. Encourage people to please sign, and yeah.
It's bad. It's always bad. It's usual. It's Missouri. You know, it's Missouri, as Diallo knows. Missouri is Missouri. They do this Missouri. You know, Missouri is the South. It's the deep South. Missouri is Alabama. Missouri is Louisiana. Missouri is Florida. Basically.
In a lot of ways, Missouri is worse because it doesn't have the baggage of the Confederate states.
Right.
And so they get to hide behind the facade of being, you know, we're the Midwest. We're forward thinking and modern. So it's even more insidious. The deep-seated racism of the Midwest is so much more insidious than of the dirty South because it doesn't have that baggage. So it's able to engage in racist policies with less scrutiny than the deep South, because so many of us, our minds go back to the civil rights and the marches and the water hoses and the, you know, bloated sheriffs and governors of the South, where Missouri is dignified racism, you know, articulate racism, which is so much more insidious.
I talk about that a lot. Yeah, go ahead, Geechee. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm curious if any like high profile lawyers or even names, Cori Bush, anybody has been a part of this, talked about it, respond to it, or what has been those interactions?
Well, interesting that you mentioned Cori Bush. Cori has always, I met Cori probably in 2020, I think. And since I've met her, her in her office, not just her, but her team, have been very supportive of my work. We actually, you know, brought Cori out to the prison at one execution, and it was a dust up with the guards standing outside because they didn't appreciate us bringing, you know, a high profile individual. But Cori has always been supportive of this work in her office, and we definitely appreciate that. And Cori is in a contentious primary battle currently, interestingly enough, with the prosecutor's office, the prosecutor of that office that brought the case back. He is challenging her in her primary. So there's a lot of tension in our city. There's a lot of folks upset. A lot of folks have some real, you know, serious feelings and hurts behind what's going on politically. But yeah, Cori and her office have always been supportive, and they are now. We're probably going to be doing some type. Normally, her office will put out a statement, etc., which is appreciative. But in the background, her office has always been supportive of our work, and I interact with them pretty often. So I'm appreciative of that. Other than that, we've kind of been trying to reach out to some more prominent people. We haven't really gotten a go ahead yet. We have several NFL, NBA stars from St. Louis and that kind of thing. So we're kind of trying to reach out to people with some prominence. But, first of all, I'm nobody, right? I'm not famous, popular, etc. So I don't know these people, but trying to, reach out, and we'll see if anything, turns up from that. But I think the more important thing is us, right? Just us regular folks, organizers, advocates, community members who understand the system is corrupt. Really getting us educated and amplified to support. So that's always been my main focus. And real quickly, following up on Diallo's point, I always call Missouri the South. And once when somebody told me, oh, Missouri, y'all next to Kansas in Illinois. And I'm like, I don't care. Geography means nothing to me. Missouri is not aligned with Kansas, Illinois, Iowa, whatever. Missouri is the South. Missouri is Alabama. Missouri is Louisiana. And because we are, quote unquote, the Midwest, we don't get that attention. Our governor is as bad as DeSantis in Florida. He just didn't run for president, so nobody knows.
And Senator Josh Hawley.
Say that again.
Josh Hawley.
Oh, yes. I mean, our former attorney general who asked for 6 executions, who executed several people I love. He's actually our other senator. His name is Eric Schmidt. He ran the Senate race that past time, so he's our other senator right now. So yeah, we have some bad folks that are leading this state, and that just means that we have to amplify the issues, and we have to really explain to not only the people of our state but the nation that Missouri is very much the South. And all of these issues need to be brought forth and addressed.
Well, get what you can from Representative Bush, because she boycotted Netanyahu, and AIPAC is lining her up. So
they just spent millions, literally millions of dollars. Yeah, so it's a fight. It's definitely a fight, it's just a situation where, folks that understand, we are behind her, but there are people, the ads and the media, etc., that are distorted, millions of dollars, like Bowman up in New York, right? The same situation. Mm-hmm. So we're definitely mobilizing.
Mm-hmm. Right on.
And speak to, because you kind of touched on this when you began, although, Brother Williams is there's evidence to exonerate him. Opposition to the death penalty is not rooted in the innocence or guilt of the condemned.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not. So, of course, people put this air of superiority on innocence, but I advocate for everybody that is on death row or that the state is seeking death penalty against. And what I say is that this state has no more, this government, this country has no moral authority to kill anybody. I tell people all the time, the blood of my ancestors run through this ground. So you can't tell me that this government got any place to say that this person's crime, quote unquote, is more egregious than the founding fathers of this nation. So we execute people. We need to dig them up and kill them again. We should not have that purview. And I explain to people, Diallo, that you as an individual, you're not the state, right? Because if something happens to your own loved one, of course you're going to feel, like you want revenge. You want to have human emotions. We all have human emotions. But the state is not human emotions. The state is not us. The state is not an individual. The state is an apparatus that is political and that seeks certain punishments for certain people at certain moments just because of career aspirations or political expediency. So what the government does is never about the victims. It's never about justice. It's never about, actually doing what's right. It's always some ulterior motive. Because there are times where victims' families will say, we don't want that person executed. Like that's not, you know, maybe we're Christian or maybe whatever reasoning, we don't agree with the death penalty and we don't want the perpetrator executed, even though we're grieving our loved one gone. We don't want that. In the state, and I'm talking right now about Texas, did this a couple of years ago. The state told that family, we ain't interested in what you want. We still gonna kill this person. So it's never about actually what happened to those people. It's always a state response that is rooted in, you know, enslavement, racism, prejudice, control. And that's what the system of capital punishment actually is.
Yeah.
Yes, so thank you. Yeah.
All right, right
and
on.
So it's again, FreeKhaliifah.org is the website. And if people sign the petition, you know, we get, you know, like your name and email. So we'll follow up with folks. If people want to take further actions and talk to your community members is one thing, your groups, you know, I have a lot of organizations, like when they have their meetings and, you know, membership meetings, et cetera, they talk about these issues. So talk to your community, talk to your churches, et cetera. I talk to a lot of congregations, you know, I'm not actually religious, right? I'm in church a lot because I bring these issues to the congregations and colleges, et cetera. So just, you know, have these kind of hard conversations with your community, your family, your networks, and just try to educate folks. And that is amazing support as well.
So you mean you walk up in spaces where you might have some principled disagreement and try to build with them? You don't go in there bombing on them, talking about you ain't and you ain't right and then. That's interesting. That's interesting.
Calling them out might hurt the case.
Calling them out.
You should. Because Christianity, Islam, and Judaism are enthusiastically pro death penalty. And one of the things that allow for states that have abolished the death penalty, you'll see that there's a direct line between secular governance and abolishing the death penalty, as opposed to more theological governments are more aggressive with the death penalty. So Christianity, Islam, and Judaism are male chauvinist murder cults. So
no, but all jokes aside,
so you should walk up in there and let them know everybody love Christianity until some Christian shit happens. So they need yet another Christian, Islamic, and a Jewish reformation. So maybe telling them some unpleasant truths about their positions and what they believe might be the thing that's needed, as opposed to placating their delusions.
And that would, and so again, so ML, this is seriously, so all pettiness and jokes aside, where I might agree with Diallo analytically is that tactically the goal. If this immediate goal is freeing this brother, is that, so that's why I'm actually, I would want you to participate in this conversation, because I think this is like, I struggle with this all the time. Where would you draw the line on who you would appeal to and with whom you would work to get this man out?
Yeah, and I definitely agree with both points. It definitely is a fine line. I think that specifically in our state, our governor is Southern Baptist, I think is his faith. And this is one faith, interesting enough, even today in 2024, they have a policy that they agree with the death penalty. Most religious faiths, most institutions today take a stance that they are anti-death penalty. Historically, yes, Diallo, you're correct. These institutions were founded on things that included murder, death, lynching. But most institutions today take a stand that's anti-death penalty. But the governor's faith, because I looked it up a while ago, the Southern Baptists, they still have death penalty as something that, you know, is okay with them in their religious organization. And what I do is when I do go to, you know, the Catholics and the other Protestant, you know, faiths, etc., even the Islamic community, because Khalifa is Muslim, so I do talk to the Islamic community as well. We actually do have some of those conversations. I talk to religious people about the fact that historically, these are why these things, you know, happen. I mean, some years ago, I found out that I think it was Georgetown University, which is a Catholic institution. When it was founded, at some point it was almost going to be closed because like they couldn't sustain it. And to sustain that institution, they sold our enslaved ancestors.
Oh,
right?
Yeah,
That's kind of how. Yeah. So I've had that conversation with Catholic people, because even though I appreciate your support in today and definitely, appreciate you working with us. Historically, these things are rooted, in certain things, and this is where it comes from. I don't just go in and curse folk out and etc. But I have had these sorts of conversations with people, especially about that Georgetown situation. I also remember, I know you spoke with Mike Africa, a junior, not recently, and he has a book coming out. But a few years ago, they found that the bones of one of the children killed in the MOVE bombing were in like one of these universities
in the museum.
Like, and so we have to, we have to address those things. We have to have them discussions, and I definitely don't mind having a discussion. But I don't go into people's houses of worship, necessarily just going off and cussing them out, etc. But we have had talks about like where these things happen historically. The death penalty is a regurgitation of lynching, right? It's just another form of lynching. It might not be from a tree, you know what I'm saying? But this is how the state gets rid of people that is unwanted and that they feel like is unworthy of life. And so that's what lynching was at some point.
Diallo, you didn't like James Cone's the cross and the lynching tree?
I prefer more the executed savior.
So you don't find value in that approach? Because I think, again, I'm actually being serious.
Don't ask that man nothing about liberation theology, because
but if he read the work, I think it's a legit question. Because I think
I may refuse to read liberation theology.
I have read liberation theology. I followed liberation theology. And one thing I conclude about every single liberation theology is that they didn't have the endorsement or support of the established faith. So by definition, liberation theologists are in violation and going against the core of the faith. They are not rebelling against the system. They have to rebel against their very faith in order to take a principled stand against institutions of oppression, because the established church,
where their class dynamics in their faith.
So yeah, and I don't want to be a part of something where I have to go against it in order to do the right thing. Get the fuck out. Escape. Leave it. If I got to go against the very core of my very ideology that's rooted in existence, and I got to go against the established church in order to be a liberal, and the fact that you have to say liberation theology. So what's the other theology? The fact that liberation theology exists, when you say theology, what are you saying? Since you have to add because theology isn't inherently liberating. Mm-hmm. Or else you wouldn't have to call it. You have to call it molesting theology, non-corrupt theology, liberation theology. You have to put all these qualifiers on it because the inherent root of it is all those things.
Yeah.
Give them back their God.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
That's kind of like Geechee. That's kind of like when people say the system is broken, right? And lately, when people, I've heard the system is broken, and at one point I thought about it. I said, well, when did it break? Right, something that's broken at one point was whole, right? It was together, whole, fixed, whatever term you know. So when exactly did the system break? Did it break the day y'all enslaved my ancestors? Did it break the day that y'all, lynched some individual person? Exactly when did it break? So there is a space for, if you have this institution or this term entity that you created, the opposite at some point existed, right? And probably still does, but that's definitely something that I can definitely understand. But with my work, because of course I have very radical friends, right? I have a whole lot of folks who do radical work who will tell me, like, for instance, I go to our state capitol a lot. I talk to politicians and elected officials a lot, and my radical folks, why are you up in them people building? Why are you talking to them, etc.? And what I explain to people is, even though I don't like it, they got my folks in cages and we ain't got the key, right? So these are the people with the key to the cage that's holding my folks. And I have to go deal with them in order to get the key and have them unlock these doors, let my people go. Do I like it? Not necessarily. I don't necessarily like, talking to people who very much disagree with me on a lot of things, but will I do it to save Khalifa? Will I do it to open up the cage and let my people free? Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Because this is what this is the reality of where we at, right? theology and the theory is great, but the reality is right now my people are in cages. These people are trying to kill my folks, and so I have to work within this particular apparatus in order to get them free. Now, of course, I have certain principles and certain standards, right? That I do. One of my standards is I don't gala and dinner with the DOC director. People invite me to like these dinners and fancy shit with like the DOC director with the 3 or 4 different forks. I'm not sitting down next to them people and having lollygagging about nothing. I'm just not. Now, do I deal with them politically and as far as the system? Yeah, I do. But I'm not just going to go take pictures and just like be at some gala and some party with the person who is caging my folks. That's not what I'm going to do. And I turn that down all the time because that's not what I'm on. So I do have certain standards that I don't cross. But yeah, overall, like I have to deal with the system because the system is the entity that got my people in these cages. So
real quick though, because Diallo brought something into me. One second. As you do journalism or education or anything, as you say, emancipatory journalism or a particular journalism or a particular theology, I don't think it in itself is the problem. I think it's how people use it or how people use it. How people use it or practice its tenets. So liberation theology is a particular thing that a particular group of people engage in. And the people who engage in liberation theology, those are people that you will be in coordination with, i.e. a Skip that you rock with and that you will ride for. He, as his way he engaged theology is in a liberatory way. So I think it'd be wild for you to be like, oh, everybody, whatever. Like before Skip was born, there were people who were engaged in liberation theology.
What?
And in terms of having
listen, when you say liberation theology, that's like saying I'm a non-racist Confederate. I'm a liberation Nazi. Like,
it's
why
not,
the
though.
fuck are you
it's not, though.
Shit? And let me tell you something. I don't know how anybody, the fact that you have to call it liberation theology pretty much invalidates theology unto itself, because that suggests that theology is other than liberation, which is why you have to have a whole separate sect.
So that's the same thing with journalism?
Huh?
That's the same thing with journalism? Like you don't need to call it emancipatory journalism because what?
Yeah, because journalism in this context, in this society, is corporate. The most dominant media outlets and most of the journalists work for multinational corporations. So yeah, you do have to make that distinction because journalism in this society is inherently pro-capitalist propaganda. But the thing about journalism is it doesn't have the almighty, omnipotent, omnipresent, omnibenevolent, all-seeing eye. We acknowledge that journalism is an industry. It is something created by man, controlled by man, directed by man, and constructed by man. But you don't get to say, well, no, my shit ain't of this world. My shit is of the world and is eternal. And what I believe comes from on high and is the ultimate good. You don't get to say that and then say, well, no,
get over it, Diallo. It's okay, man. I'm sorry that happened.
Religious institutions is no different than government institutions. You can't have it both ways. Is you divine? Is you supernatural? Do you have the all-seeing Father of everything backing you and your Lord comes from the divine? If you get all that shit, then you got a different standard. You don't tell me about theology and journalism. Two different categories, two different places. And if journalists start to say, well, we don't report the facts, we get our message from the Lord, then yes, then we can compare the two.
Can just make sure, God forbid, unintended, God forbid, if I get Diallo, please, if I get, God forbid, because now you just messed up the timing of my joke. God forbid, if I get locked up, please do not call Diallo, call ML. That's all I'm saying. Call ML. Nah. I don't even. Nah. Just.
Jared is ready to die. Jared is ready to stay in that cell for the rest of his life if it's what it takes. Jared, didn't it? That's what he told me.
Look, we got bail funds. You know, we got folks that got bail funds, and we'll definitely get you out.
Let me be the spokesman.
You know, that's kind of how I feel about when we talk about these terms. That's kind of how I feel about Black feminism, right? You putting Black in front of anything, I just feel some type of way about it. Black capitalism, Black feminism, whatever we got to put Black in front of, because these were systems entities created not for us. So now we got to put Black in front of it, and we got to redefine it, right? Which is why over years, when I learned about Dr. Hudson Weems' work with Africana womanism, I like the term, right? I can't necessarily agree with everything, but I do like the terminology because she created it. It was from a Black woman, and she kind of made her own thing. But I think, taking the people's, European terms, feminism, religious Christianity, and then putting our own spin on it, it definitely feels some type of way to me. You know what I'm saying? I've agreed with that over years. I'm like, I don't like the fact that we have to take feminism and make it Black because it wasn't Black in the beginning. It wasn't ours. It was something we had to, Columbusing, right? So we had to like co-opt it and make it our own. And Black feminism, work is, they doing a lot of great work, but just like those terminologies, I definitely have in the past kind of felt similar about us co-opting and putting Black in front of things that were not us.
I remember years ago. I don't remember, or I don't know enough about what came of the work and that lane that Hudson Weems had carved out. But I really appreciated that argument. And I agree.
She's here in my state. She's in Missouri. She was a professor at some college, like in Columbia, I think. I've never met her though, but I learned that.
I think she's at Washington University in St. Louis.
Is she? Okay, interesting.
Oh, that was a while ago.
I'll have to look into it.
That was some time ago. That's back when I was living in Missouri, so she could have moved on and moved up.
Okay. Yeah. But it's a fine line. These are tight ropes. These are, I mean, we have these people in my circles have these discussions. It's also the NPIC, right? The nonprofit industrial complex. My organizations are nonprofits, through the IRS, through the government. We got the 501c3s, and we can have that discussion about like we should need a nonprofit. We shouldn't need to go to the IRS to get permission to do whatever we're doing, right? Our people, we're supposed to support each other. So these are definitely contradictions that I deal with every single day. And I work through them the best I can. I try to keep my principles and ideology in place. But yeah, it's definitely something these are not easy topics to navigate at all. Jared, for your point, that difficulty does exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I appreciate you pointing out the fact that there's a big difference between negotiating, navigating, and validating. Because I was just in the same room a few months ago with the top police officer in Chicago, the Black man, the token, who runs the entire Chicago Police Department. And I was just in the same room as that man. But
what happened? What was going on?
They basically,
we need some context.
The progressive mayor appointed another Black head of the CPD, and he wanted to engage the activist community to articulate that there's going to be some changes in the CPD, and not only.
So you will meet with the police
changes to come, but he wants to talk about the progress up to that point. So he opened it up.
But you'll meet with the police and not sit with 19 keys.
But like, I would not go to the goddamn Benevolence Association ball, and I would not sit on the stage talking about how you are that legendary
setting the standard, brother.
Michael Jordan and Aretha Franklin of policing. Those are two different things.
That's what I'm saying, Josie. I'm like, what was?
Oh, the whole thing is on tape, so you can go see it.
What's on tape is what's on tape. We don't know the whole thing, so we see what's on tape is what's on tape.
I don't listen. To me, y'all have so corrupted the concept of snitching.
Y'all
have so ran snitching and not snitching into the ground. So y'all need to fix that too.
So you're not. So what would you call? Diallo's hilarious, man. So ML, I was asking. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I don't know about that. I haven't. I dealt with one cop, and mainly because she actually like told on the other cops and they stopped liking her, and so she actually left the police department because she didn't feel safe working with police because she was trying to hold them accountable. So I have been in spaces with her and had conversations with her, but other than that, I don't know about I actually made a post this morning. I said FTP includes Paw Patrol and all the entities of the propaganda, right? So yeah, but I can see going to a meeting with the chief of police and like asking difficult questions. And you know, what are you going to do, and what are you going to do about the past and these issues? So I can definitely see going and having those, you know, hard conversations and not kissing ass, but actually like, you know, bringing our community concerns to them. I can definitely see doing that. Yeah, but that just ain't something I've had to do before. Thankfully my other comrades, they more involved in that direct police work, and so that's not something I've ever had to do. But yeah, I did a because somebody I know had like a Paw Patrol doll, you know, for their kid, and I'm like, no,
none of that. I'm with you. Yeah. We don't do. Yeah. I have a real aversion to that. I don't even claim some high level principle here. I just don't like being around police. So I don't. That is one of the few things I have turned down in terms of engagement. Like I don't do panels, and I don't want to do we're not doing like I don't want to do none of that because I just don't. Because I always do it. It is that thing. I always feel like they at any moment they're just gonna be like, you know what? Snatch him up real quick. I just always feel like I just don't like that. So look,
if I'm invited places, my first question is who all gonna be there? And if they say something that I'm
like I've never done even the voluntary arrests at protests and stuff. I don't like that either. I just don't like. I'm not volunteering to get locked up. I don't. If you see me in cuffs, please help because it's not intentional. It's a problem. Call ML. Do not call Diallo. Call ML. And you know. But so. How's everybody for time? There's at least a couple. I think there are a couple other things I would like us to get to if we can, and if ML can hang out, that's dope. Did either of you, anybody have, but ML included, did you have anything you wanted to make sure we got to that we didn't? We'll remind everybody the all of the links to what ML has been talking about are in the show description, including the FreeKhaliifah.org and all of that. So please sign, help out. But yeah. Anything anybody want to make sure we get to? I'll bring it up again. We are going to be with Skip August 17th in Jackson, helping promote his new album and some of the work down there. Looking forward to that. So stay tuned for more. We could put links to that in the show description as well. There's a number of good things. You know, we are, as a platform, always interested in commemorating Black August, and we do have a lot on the platform coming up. Some specials have been arranged over the course of the month. We got the discussion we're going to have next week with Daruba around Gerald Horne's new work on armed struggle. So, and other things coming up as well. So please stay tuned for that. And then I did find, speaking of Black August, the announcement I wanted to share, was asked to share, MXGM, Malcolm X Grassroots Movement DC chapter, Pan-African Community Movement, and others are involved in this month-long commemoration and teaching around the collected works of the Black Liberation Army, which is a fantastic document. I don't know who. I think it was put together almost anonymously or something, but whoever put it together, it's very, very helpful. So please, we could put the links. I'll put the link to that in the show description as well. Find your way to those events or similar events around the country and world in commemoration of Black August. And then there was a clip I wanted to play from a recent interview I saw from MichaelHudson, The Economist, that for me answers my selfish argument around why cryptocurrency is not good and buying power is mythology and all this other kind of stuff. And I think relates to our broader critique of Black capitalism and entrepreneurialism and what it leaves out. So if there's no protest, I will, in the broader context of a conversation around gold as a peace currency, which is fascinating. I will say, I think at one point Hudson gets into a little bit of a Norman Finkelstein lane in terms of his critique of identity politics, and you could see the limitations of a very Eurocentric frame of reference. But I did think this one little piece here was of some value. So let me just play this quick clip.
Look at Guatemala, and
sorry, he's asked about the historical role of assassinations. So that's the context.
1953, America's policy has been to assassinate any political leader in the southern hemisphere that advocates land reform. That's its official policy. There was a wholesale murder of land reformers in Guatemala, and the official policy of the United States from the World Bank from private banks, including, I'm told, Chase Manhattan, before I joined it, was that everywhere where there was land reform, there was an anti-American government. Therefore, America has to fight land reformers. And the assassinations that occurred century after century for 5 centuries throughout the Roman Republic that I describe in Classical Antiquity is now the foreign policy of the United States throughout the global South countries. So that's still concerning. And the same kind of passionate hatred of preventing economic rent in land has been applied to financial rent in banking and currency. That's why the United States attacked Libya and destroyed its leader, tortured him, and stole all of Libya's gold. Libya wanted to have an African gold-based currency, and instead of the dollar. And the United States said, "We're going to send in a French a group." I think it was French, to kill Gaddafi, and we're going to just support ISIS there and the Islamic groups to take over and destroy it. America has said that any country that tries to de-dollarize and have an alternative to the dollar is our enemy, and we will do whatever it takes, including assassination, to stop it. Well, they're not able to do this against China. They're not able to do it against the large group of countries that the BRICS are putting together, to return to our original discussion. And finally, you could say that the motto of BRICS is no more Libyas. No more Guatemalas, no more ability of the United States just to kill everybody who doesn't agree with them. This was the Roman policy, and the fact.
So I can include that. Oh no! Wait! My bad. I cut it too quick. Wait. This was really important. Hold on, real quick. My bad.
Motto of BRICS is no more Libyas. No more Guatemalas, no more ability of the United States just to kill everybody who doesn't agree with them. This was the Roman policy, and the fact is that people who don't work for a living, people who make their living by robbery, by a free lunch, by economic rent, by being a landlord, by inheriting money, they're willing to kill for this right, the privilege to live in this way. But the people who are actually producing the income and the output to pay these rentiers are not willing to fight. It's the exploiters that are willing to fight, not the exploited. That's message.
So I thought that was a fascinating clip. And for me, it makes a number of important points related to the arguments that come up in my work and around here. For instance, when you're telling Black people to stop spending money frivolously and buy land, the whole fundamental point he's making and throughout that whole discussion is the importance of land to wealth production and control of resources into the ruling elite. They're not giving away, even through sale, land that's going to overturn the power relationships and the economic relationships that currently exist. His whole point about he's putting in the context of assassination, but he's making the point that I'm making on a much more simpler, lower level, just around consumption and the economy. Why are the people who are producing the wealth and doing all the labor and creating the wealth that ends up in the hands of people who don't work for it? are the ones who are told not to fight or encouraged not to fight or discouraged from being radically organized, discouraged from radical analysis, while the ruling elite are obviously encouraged to hold a monopoly of violence and control political policy, et cetera, and so forth. And then lastly, what he's ultimately making the point about, and as he's talking about specifically currency and everything else, is that he's asked a question during that this he's somewhat answering here earlier in the discussion about why is gold running the world? And he said gold is not running the world. Currency and commodities never run the world. It's how governments engage those commodities and products that determines what runs. So his point was, put differently, it's public policy, it's political power that determines wealth definition, distribution, et cetera, and so forth, and that marshals with legitimacy and the law the monopoly of violence to protect and expand themselves against the rest of us. So I just thought that was really important, and I think even dovetails nicely with what we've been talking about today, with who's teaming up with who and whose analysis is holding what. And I just thought, let's bring in the sensible white man into the conversation and bring it back to, but in all seriousness, I anyway, the whole conversation is fascinating, but I thought that point, I don't know. So that was, I don't know if anybody has any thoughts. That was really it that I wanted to bring to the table today.
No.
All right.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Thank you for the making the white man, correct us, and it's not true. It's not true that he said it.
Well, Diallo, I don't know if y'all know, I followed Diallo for many years, and you said that got to bring on a white guy to prove something, and which is how I actually got into Derrick Jensen, which is how I got into Michael Bradshaw. I didn't know who the white folk were, but yeah, to prove some stuff, especially white people. Now, not to me, but to prove something to white folks, you definitely got to go get a white folk to say it.
Even to black people, though. Like, that's the sad reality. A lot of black folks need to hear it from the white man.
Yeah, sadly. I'm more inclined not to trust it coming from somebody else, but that's just me. But yeah, we are a mental societal people. So, but I did want to, and I put it in the chat, Dr. Ball, that as far as announcements, August the 9th of 2024 is the 10-year anniversary of the murder of Michael Brown Jr. His father and family have been for many years doing some amazing work in our community for children in honor of Mike's legacy. And so they put together an event, probably like a week's worth of events during that first week of August, which will culminate Friday on the anniversary. We always go out to the spot where Michael was killed, and they build like a little memorial, and we pray, we speak, etc. But there will be a week's long set of events. So anybody want to come to St. Louis, they are going to have some, popular, influential people come in here. I think the headliner at the ball is David Banner, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But there will be some community conversations. There will be a lot going on that week. But yeah, like I said, Chosen for Change is the org, and Mike Sr. has been doing some amazing work. So I'm always down to support them. And it's been 10 years, but a child is still dead, right? His child was murdered. My son was a year older than Mike Jr. at that time. So that definitely affected me and still affects a lot of people. So we are going to, remember and re-engage with our mantra to never forget him. So just wanted to put that out there.
I think that do bring up back to the point of, so for instance, a David Banner who has his shit that you could probably call out, but in the case where you would need his celebrity to, I guess, fundraise for a particular cause, will it make sense to try to have a debate with him or openly at this event, as opposed to,
or just to put it slightly differently, at what point what line would he have had to cross to not work with him at this point is sort of, and I'm not asking you specifically, I'm just saying that I think that is part of what complicates the record. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, are we good? Is that it? We finishing early?
Yeah, unless you wanted to get into that Lord Jamal or the reparations.
I'm happy to
conference.
do it. So
Netanyahu.
Well, the Netanyahu stuff, I ended up I covering with Renee on Saturday. I don't, unless you all have some, we can get into it here. In terms of the lies he told and the people that boycotted his speech. I'm happy to do the pause question. I don't know if we have the time to get into it, and if ML wants to participate in that. Although you said you had to leave at 10. I don't. So it's up to you all how you want to. If we want to table that to when we have more time to get into it, or whatever. Let me know.
Have you guys
I'm flexible.
talked about y'all's VP for president? Have y'all talked about Kamala? Mm-hmm.
Not on this show. I don't think we did too much here. No, I don't.
Because
Did
I
we
know
talk about it last week?
Whenever y'all start talking about women being all men, it'd be a problem, right? It'd be kind of. So I didn't know if y'all had got into it or not.
I don't think we did. Did we? I can't remember. Did we talk about her last week, Diallo?
No. I was on the other day with Jackie and Kamal, and we kind of talked about the black. I guess when black men don't support Kamala, it's you don't protect black women. And Jackie brought something up great. Y'all don't. I mean, when we criticize Kamala and other people, y'all don't protect us. We regular women, right? Jackie gets threats and all type of stuff all the time. I couldn't even tell you the amount of threats I've gotten in my work, right? Me, I'm nobody. But it's like, okay, so we supposed to protect Kamala, who the top cop and who got resources out the ass, but the black woman in your neighborhood that's getting harassed or abused or whatever, you. And then I hear, well, we can't intervene because something happened, which may be true. But have we got so much energy to protect Kamala?
No,
I don't know either.
I think the word protection is another exhausted concept. I mean, she has Secret Service. She don't need our protection is irrelevant. Protection and Kamala are two sentences no black person needs to talk about. She gonna be all right.
I'm with Josh on this one. That was what I was asking. She got a rich white husband. What she need us for?
She got the Secret Service.
She got more money than him, man.
She got a rich white husband. You don't even need a Secret Service.
Are the two most secure colored folks that have ever walked this earth. Y'all don't have to worry.
So wait, who's running with her?
Over there. I mean, I can give you a list of colored folks to put to your prayer list, your protection prayer to put on your shrine. Make an offering, because them are two black folks that we don't have to worry about their protection. There's other things we got to be. I mean, we need somebody to protect us from them.
Right.
Well, I see sounds of saying elsewhere saying symbolic protection, that we should be like sort of, I guess, like in these.
There's no such place. There's no such thing. I mean, if I'm gonna sell you an alarm system and it's a dream catcher.
Oh damn!
Yeah, bring you some crystals and sage, and I'm going to protect your house from negative energy. Okay, burn a sage for Kamala, because that's all the protection she needs.
No, I think what they're really looking for is not to publicly criticize her. It's to not. It's and to support voting for her.
AOC or
it's covered from legitimate critique and criticism and condemnation, which she has earned from the black community.
She can't run with a black woman. You said have an all-black woman ticket?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be Stacey Abrams or AOC.
No, never.
Oh, please don't. Listen.
They would never. The Democratic Party would not let her do that.
She wouldn't want to do it. She wouldn't want to. Why would she want to do that? Why would she?
She's got to get. She got to get I would think she got to get she got to get the old, who said it? The old white dude. Renee said it.
We got to get an old longest, and we understand it the least. Every party seeks to balance the ticket. Every party seeks to balance the ticket. That's why Trump needed a right-wing conservative, Christian conservative, because he had no history of conservatism. Mm-hmm. Obama, who was, and it's about perception, not reality. Obama was seen as a progressive, as a left. So he went and got a dyed-in-the-wool old school Dixiecrat to balance his ticket. Even George W. Bush went and got because he was seen as a good old boy, and he went and got Dick Cheney, a hardcore anti.
Because they were like, somebody sensible got to run this place.
Exactly. So Kamala's her VP pick will balance the ticket. And so it will be someone who is conceived.
Tim Waltz or the astronaut.
If she got to compete with the theatrics of 50 Cent slash what's that boy Donald Trump who got shot, she put Stacey Abrams on a ticket. That's an easy walk into the White House. It's a wrap.
Ooh, I watched a really good.
Listen, if Jared runs for office, if Jared gets arrested, don't call me. If I run for office, don't call me. We just have all that on record right now. If I ever try
I do gotta run, but I think
thank you, Michelle.
So much. And I just want to say this real quickly about this protect Black women, etc. And I have a lot to talk about Kamala, not her hair or her laugh or whatever her policies. But when we talk about protect Black women, go find Sheree Peoples and protect her daughter. That Kamala had that woman arrested because her daughter was chronically ill and missing school, and she had her arrested for truancy. Go find Sheree Peoples and protect her. That's us, regular Black women. Let's focus on us, because she never should have been handcuffed and led out of her house in those handcuffs and pictured and put on the news because she had a chronically ill child. That should never have happened. So if you can't talk about protecting Sheree Peoples and regular Black women, we shouldn't be having the conversation. But I definitely got to go. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
FreeKhaliifah.org, and I appreciate the time.
Links in the show description. We're gonna ride you out with this.
Now listen, that's called my boy. You know nothing about that.
Big shout out to ML coming through with the work. Links are in the show description. Please sign up, tap in, whatever, all of those things. All right, fellas, what's up? Anything else? That's it. We out.
You familiar with the Venezuelan receipt?
The receipt?
Did we have Lucretia go? Did we get somebody in Venezuela?
I don't know. I find it curious.
We did make an attempt, and I lost track of exactly what happened, but I don't think it went. I don't think there were some issues with the weather and some travel.
I kind of got nervous because with my limited internet, I saw some people that I know from Venezuela who, not really radical, was celebrating, and I thought Maduro lost or something. But when I got home, I was able to see some stuff. But I was curious if
you saw the right-wing riots.
No, I saw somebody like celebrating.
Oh wow, she couldn't get out. She got in there. She stuck there. What happened? Oh wow, I got to get caught up.
Wait. Who? What? Huh?
Did Lucretia get stuck there? Is that what Renee is saying? Renee, you should jump in and tell us.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
oh shit. Oh, she couldn't get out of the U.S. Maybe.
Oh, she couldn't get out of the U.S. Okay. Oh, the Microsoft. Oh, I don't know. We did not have the pause discussion. Do we want to have the pause discussion now? Do we have time for that? I have time. I don't know if you have time or interest or whatever.
I just heard about it through my brother Josh, because
it was a miscommunication. By the way, he and I spoke last night. We had another meeting and spoke last night. He was apologetic. I don't know. He needed to apologize, but
before it started. We won.
No, right? He's not that he agrees with us. Not that part.
Walk like a champion.
But in terms of what was supposed to happen today,
apology and
that's not what that's not okay.
Don't come for us again.
Right. You should never give Diallo any ammo to do that.
Well, everything for him is ammo. He turns everything into ammo. He's got a remarkable skill.
If you sneeze, there you go. I can see it.
And I don't know what I don't think it's a debate, but we did. I think there was
admonishment.
There are those who
it's a call out,
who rightly acknowledge its homophobic origins. I think we were. Are we doing it or not?
I mean, you might as well do it since y'all doing all that teasing just now. You might as well lay it out for the people who don't know. As Diallo always tell me, since you didn't lay it out for the people, some people don't even know what you're talking about. So could you lay out what's happening right now?
So I played it on my show the other day, but
that's what I appreciate about Geechee. He learns.
But there was this is a different link. The long story short, the Lord Jamar clip that I
capacity to have this discussion because we're part of the problem.
Well, the Lord Jamar, the clip I got the wrong one. The Lord, he ends up doing another. Lord Jamar went on with Bag Fuel podcast and said he doesn't play the pause game because as he put it, it makes you focus on quote gay shit. And he's saying that we can no longer even use language. We can no longer. Now, his point was not to acknowledge it as a homophobic slur, but to say it makes you think gay and then become gay. I don't know if he goes that far, but he said it makes you think
on the cusp of being turned gay. They have to put all these barriers between themselves and being turned gay.
So tell me this. Go ahead. I'm sorry, but when the both of you use it, are you this is what I thought. Are you referring to I don't want to hear any sexual references? As you always say, I want everybody to keep their clothes on. In fact, put another extra layer of clothes. So are you saying that you use it as a reference to anything sexual? Pause. Do that on your own time. Is that that's how you use it?
So I tried to explain from the beginning what returned this to my attention is watching Cam and Mace, who play, I think, and I acknowledge the immaturity in it. And I've also acknowledged the homophobic origins of it. And they are engaged in the traditional, because remember, it started generationally. It started at one point as no homo. So it was anything that could be considered some sort of reference to something that could be turned into something homosexual needed to be paused. So where I started, what the humor, the way my mind works, what makes it humorous for me is that I recognize the harmful homophobic origin. I also recognize the immaturity, which makes me laugh, that grown men, myself included, would find this so funny. The immaturity is immature and results in immaturity. But it's also, to Diallo's point, that I do somewhat for me, so I make it in reference to all sexual reference. That's what generates the thought for me at this point. But also it is also me making fun of its origins and the people who use it in its original way. Because to me it is, you all are wanting to be so anti-gay, but everything for you is a reference to homosexuality, no matter what. So what is really going on here? Now, I acknowledge that I don't say this to justify or to deny or to diminish what some or others acknowledge rightfully is a problem with its origin, but I acknowledge that so I don't mean for it to be an anti-gay reference. I mean more of it to make fun of those who see it as an anti-gay reference, because I'm like, what is but then it took on a life of its own. I admit that. And it makes me laugh even as I'm being self-critical. And I'm critical of that even, that it makes me laugh. I'm not even,
So I wonder if even with
I thought no homo predated pause, but I don't
know. But what I'm saying, what I thought was the TMI is the extension of pause.
So like when Anthony says pause came second, I'm like pause.
But wait. That's the point though. Is pause an extension of TMI though? That's kind of what I thought.
It's not. It's not connected. But here's the issue.
No.
I ran a green teens program where I had high schoolers working in a garden. And one day I was there working and I had a group of kids doing various tasks around. It was really a farm. It was pretty huge. But, these are South Side kids that they label at risk and all that bullshit. And some hard youth. And so one day I'm working, putting together this compost bin, and this other dude comes like, listen, I'm finished mowing, and what else you got for me to do, or can I go to lunch? And then the other guy had mentioned, yeah, because my girl coming to meet me for lunch. The other kid I was working with, when the other dude said, I'm ready to go to lunch. And then the dude that asked for lunch first was like, oh, you got a girlfriend? I thought you was gay. And I start to get up like, oh shit, they about to throw down. They about to fight. Because dude just called next dude gay. And he was like, oh no, I'm not gay, I'm straight. And he's like, oh, okay. And then that was it. It was like no, like young people, what do they call them? Xennials or Gen Z, they got no hangups about that. But I'm fully aware, Jared, our generation is the boom bye bye generation. New Satamites and Bati Boy, me say I did for them. And when Brand Nubian, they had that song, Shoot the Faggot in the Back for acting like that. I don't understand their ways, and I ain't down with gays. That shit was just common. Nobody flinched when that shit dropped. They were like, oh, that's a bar. So we come from that era in the 90s and late 80s, early 90s, where hip-hop, reggae, urban culture was violently, toxically masculine and anti-gay. So to me, when I say pause, the hang-ups from my generations, the hang-ups from the brothers, to me, it is a mockery, an acknowledgement and a mockery of that era that we've been through, and that we still, many of our people, I mean, we forget, we all look at Dr. Fubar as the man that's trying to check snow bunnies and all that shit. But his whole identity and his whole prominence in the Black community came as a result of him protecting us from the gay agenda and stopping them from turning our sons into their daughters. So me, when I say pause, what's in my mind is my generation, my peers, the music I listened to, the circles that I navigated in were really hung up on that shit. And a lot of people try to play it like it never happens. A lot of people try to play it like, oh, our prophecies have come true. Now everything and everybody's gay. So I don't say it in mockery of LGBTQ community. I say it and I acknowledge it and I bring it up because a lot of guys with the gray and the beards, a lot of us who came through that era, came up in that shit, and it still burdens us. That's why Lord Jamar, every time we say it, I say it to upset the Lord Jamar and to highlight that with the Lord Jamar, because it's something that I came up when I embraced. I really thought, hey man, even Common, old liberal progressive Common, remember women acting like niggas acting like bitches the last days.
Oh wow, right.
But that was a prominent thing that's saying the prominence of gay and queer people is a harbinger of end time prophecies, is a sign of the return of the Christ when the role of man and woman becomes confused. So I think that is something that is always like, yo, we went through that, and a lot of people that are prominent in our Farrakhan, man, all of them cats. So when I think about that, it's more of a mockery of our own, of the hangups of cisgendered heterosexual Black men, especially the cisgender heterosexual Black men who profess to be conscious, who profess to be alpha and all that other corny shit. But that's what comes to the fore of my mind. Not
I agree. That's well said.
A mockery of the hangups of straight masculine Black men.
So I do think anecdotally all the time that the three Black kids that gave me the most grief at the bus stop for being mixed, all three of them ended up with white women. All three of them, to a person. So I do think of it.
Common grin.
Diallo following
that common grin.
Follow the check
for that common grin. So
he did his research
because I was a whole zebras and Oreos and a whole bunch of all of that, and then every one of them, and one in particular, like
you missed that common grin, Geechee. You weren't here for that. We did a scientific research comparative study.
Oh yeah.
Of the elation of having a white woman on your arm versus a Black woman.
White girl, you got to have that white girl is important.
Oh,
so
we show Common with the white woman. We show Common with Jennifer Hudson.
And the grins weren't the same. We measured the grin.
Wait, Common used to date Jennifer who? Oh,
he's dating her now, I think, right?
Not Jennifer. He ain't happy though. But you weren't here. That's what happens when you skip class.
So just real quick, because effusive stoic also reminded me of another way that I do approach this, from Archer's phrasing. which is another way that I hear this. So just a quick example.
Well, then you better nut up.
Phrasing.
Because I've swallowed just about as much as I can take from you.
Hey, phrasing.
So
you want ants? Because that's how you get ants. That's to my sons all the time.
That's my. I love that. I love that show. I can't front.
I missed that.
But she did pass on, and the way they and her husband died, who had a role on the show too. And the way they commemorated the two of them was impressive for a TV show, man, for a cartoon.
But go watch the new seasons.
Yeah. It's. I love the show, but that's been a running theme. And that's more of the way I approach the pause game. Again, acknowledging the different origins. And I think, and I agree, phrasing is better. I
asked some young progressives, some 15 to 20-year-old progressives about pause.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, we don't care nothing you do matters. Nothing
well,
you shit. I'm like, we say pause. And they were like, can I be honest with you, bro? Nothing y'all do or say really registers with us. So go off.
So,
no, that's the honest reaction.
No, I get it. No,
activists, young progressives, and young leftists that I asked about it, and they basically said whatever we say, they don't know or care.
But to be fair, I do like, I do want to acknowledge that there are some who have bristled, if not, fully rejected our and I at least I'm happy we can if there are those who want to engage us and we can do that, I'm fine. But at least as an initial,
Josh went running scared.
Let's not do that. Josh is not running scared. Josh,
and he apologized.
That's not what he apologized for.
I ever challenged you, icon.
You get us doing
I know.
I'm sorry I ever doubted you or questioned you. I'm sorry.
Hey, get to Diallo's prediction, because I got some questions for that, brother.
Oh, no.
Okay, right. Okay.
Wait, was that part of the?
I did put it on the run sheet because you sent it.
Since we're talking about some of those things.
So you said here the other day that all of your predictions from 2020 have come true. You are truly a secular prophet. So you said that you said one, Biden advantages over Trump is what you were writing in August.
Advantages is in quotes. First of all,
correct. His LGBTQ rights. I'll just go over it quickly. We can come back to the fuller. Abortion, end overt racism, healthcare, foreign policy, immigration, Supreme Court, coronavirus, and Vice President Kamala will have more influence than any VP since Dick Cheney due to Biden's cognitive decline. That's a pretty good call. And then lastly, you call that his tenor. So if you want to elaborate on more or read more of these in full or talk about, well, I didn't want to just sit here reading the entire post, to be honest. And
you don't have to read the entire post. But
I read through each bullet point, and I credited you for being correct. What more do you want?
What more can I add?
Let it go. Let go and let God.
Like Josh gave us. I'm into apologies.
Wait, what? You want apologies from who and why?
Huh?
You want apologies from who and why?
For daring to question me.
I mean, so you said you called it and you was able to.
Although you did say abortion rights would be more secure under his presidency.
They have been. If you look at the blue states, again, abortion ban is not complete or solid. And from as they decline, the abortion rights are making a pushback. And I didn't say they would be secured. I'm more secure from coming from the bully pulpit of the White House and the so-called blue states. And there is even a pipeline of women seeking abortion coming through the blue states from the red states. So
Josh
I said they would be more secure, not completely secure.
Diallo, I got a question. So since you say that the rights of LGBTQAI people are better under Biden's,
not what I said. Go up to that part.
Well, Jared is on the screen right now.
Well, if you
hold on,
pull it up. I don't remember what.
Well, no, Jared is sharing his screen now, so I can't move it up, and he just left.
Yeah, okay.
But
what were you gonna ask me about?
So I wonder if so one of the things in terms of I've read about like Biden's and Trump's arguments about don't ask, don't tell, and the impacts or its objective, and I just wonder how you feel about the repealing of that. Mainly because there are people who argue that they support any marginalized groups not joining the U.S. military because it would just enrich.
Your questions are hardcore, man.
It is, but I just wonder how you feel about.
What was the question? I think that gays, I think that heterosexual, I think queer, cisgendered, asexual, I think everybody should be barred from the fucking military. I do not think the LGBTQAI plus community has gained anything being able to openly serve in the military. I understand the integrationist slants to be validated by the systems and institutions of your oppressor, but I don't think the movement, because if you look at the U.S. military, many of the states such as Saudi Arabia, many states that are allied with the United States, funded and armed by the U.S. military, and many of the imperialist regimes that the U.S. keeps in are violently and openly suppressive against LGBTQ people. So you get to, as the U.S. as a LGBTQ person in the military, get to drop bombs on other suppressed and oppressed people in the name of your personal freedoms. So I never celebrated that or recognized that as a win. Just going back to the Panther 10-point plan, when they said black people should be exempt, well, they said black men because that's who should be exempt from the draft and military service. So I think LGBT people should take that same stance.
You could have stopped sharing and then reshared from your own computer if you.
I forgot. I could have removed that. Yeah, Jared, I don't know if you heard his answer on that. Do you agree in terms of one of the repealing or just the idea of?
No, I think if you want to join the military, and then Josh is joining us if you want to, we can stop here. But if my thing is, if you want to join the military and think you have the right to join, you should be forced to join, and you should be forced to spend all of your time at all of the front lines, and you should have all of the reduced benefits that all oppressed groups suffered when they joined initially or were forced to join for previous wars. If you want to be in that bag, go get the experience. That's what I think. But no, I think Diallo's
the government.
Right. All right, Josh. What's up, man? Welcome.
What's up,
Welcome.
Peace. How you doing?
So I don't know how much did you hear our quick discussion?
Yeah. I came back right when y'all started. I know you would get into it today.
I didn't know either, but go ahead.
I did. Okay. So first of all, I would just say if we want to have some sort of methodology, because Jerry, you talk about like a crisis of methodology and research. Let's just go to Urban Dictionary. Now, not the perfect source of Black slang, but I will go to Urban Dictionary and type in pause. And let's see like some of the entries. I think Urban Dictionary became a thing. I'm about to be 31. So when I was in middle or high school, so a lot of the entries are old. So it'll be kind of my generation's use of pause. And I'll give my own examples, but curious what we see, if we could share it.
Damn, Jared faster than me. I was pulling it up.
So the first one is a powerful and ancient word that is used to stop sus vibes from people around you.
Can you read the example, by the way?
Bro, this is so long. Pause.
Okay.
The second example says a word used when someone says something that sounds gay and nobody says no homo.
Okay.
So that would comport with my timeline, suggesting that no homo predates pause.
And you can see the date on it, right?
Yeah, this says December of 2010.
Right, so that's what I was thinking about. Yeah, my era.
So wait for no homo, but Adam doesn't say it. Brandon says pause. Well, Adam says his ass is mine. Wait for no homo, but Adam doesn't say it. Brandon says pause.
Yeah.
Used when trying to negate the sexual connotation of a comment. So now we're into Jared's general range.
Cool. So
where
I think
it's
that's
all broadly sexual, not specific to anti-gay. But
so that's what I was trying to get at. So I think that's enough. So if we could be dialectical, we can hold that it's kind of had two definitions simultaneously. It's been this, sexual innuendo TMI thing that Geechee talked about, but it's always been sus, even as a concept. All of these things in a homophobic society are applied immediately to queer people, right? So it's always been side by side with no homo. And even in my historical memory, I remember being in a room full of boys watching the Boondocks, and Riley's character, nigga, you gay, blah, blah, blah. Pause, all that era of laughing, at violent homophobia and being conditioned to do that, that came with Pause. So they've always been side by side. Tactically speaking, because that's kind of what I wanted to get at as organizers or people who have to show up for our community, especially the youth, as you're pointing out, who have a better politic on this because their elders have fought. I feel like no one coming into this, just seeing EYL for the first time, could be like, oh, they're using Pause ironically, right? You could get that through context clues and all of that. But if I don't know your politics, it just comes off as weird. And it comes off as these elders, as you all pointed out, men of your generation, who are just still using this thing insensitively. So that's kind of where I get at. Like, yes, you all can try and claim it, but you all are not from that community. So I also get into a parallel with the nigga conversation, which is just like, can another community reclaim this thing that was never really used to, hurt them? But I get that it was always two things at once. I just talk about tactically how we're going to appear to people or how it can be interpreted by other people. So that's how I approach it.
I think go ahead, Diallo. I think
you start off with methodology and formal definitions, and then it seems like you jump to opinion where you haven't really rooted that in any type of real world reaction or reality. So are we talking about your personal opinion, or are you talking about your observed or experienced reality of saying Pause, having those reverberating effects?
Well, I mean, my opinion is informed by my reality, but I am not, what does objective mean in this case? I was using that as an example of an old, random sourced, highly upvoted definition of Pause that has homophobia in it, right? So that's not me, that's more objective. But I also gave a personal experience of the Boondocks, being in a room full of black boys. I was a black boy in this era, seeing Pause come up. It was used homophobically around me. It was used to make fun of gay folk. Like, I don't know what you mean by objective or what kind of measurement you would look for. So maybe you could give me an example
about your personal opinion about using the Pause as we do, or are you speaking about what you have observed, how using Pause has caused harm or reverberated to harm people in the LGBTQAI plus community? Have you observed or engaged where there was material or even emotional, psychological harm when people refer to how that's used or what circles it's used in? Is this just how you feel about the word based on or have you observed or engaged something beyond your personal experience?
Well, yes, to both of those questions. The first time I was challenged on Pause was actually by a gay man who was my camp counselor and who told me that if I was comfortable in my sexuality, I shouldn't have to use it that way, and that I should be mindful of my camp counselor, my campmates, because maybe they are gay and might be offended. And I thought, well, that's a ethic of love and care. That makes sense. And so he was somebody who clearly had seen this emerge. This was an educator, and he was, telling me about why it affected him as a gay person. So this wasn't me. This was him describing how Pause and all of that is part of a culture of homophobia. And then I would say, generally, we all agree here that the dominant culture is homophobic in the society, right? So, objectively speaking, if we just throw this out here in this society, it's going to be interpreted by the masses in a homophobic way unless we use it, in a sort of radical way. But I would argue as straight men, it's kind of hard for us to use this thing in a radical way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think everything you said makes perfect sense. And I don't think it's a stretch even for me to not have any studied scientific backing for this, that I don't think it's a stretch to even just assume that for all of these years, this general use would be harmful to those in the gay community.
Right. So reclaiming, I don't understand.
Wait. You said reclaiming.
In terms of reclaiming, was this ever a part of
the dialogue of the I'll just say gay community to shorten it, of the gay community, has this ever been part of their dialogue, discourse, or camaraderie?
But I don't. But I didn't hear. But I didn't.
It sounds like it was once over there, and then we brought it over here. Or we
right. It's not. It's not a perfect parallel with the N-word or anything. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying using, for example, anti-black humor, ironically, among us, right? Even calling people coons is something that within the community we can do. So if they want to use pause ironically, which I have some queer friends who do, then cool for them. But I don't feel comfortable doing that.
But you don't feel comfortable with it, but you're asserting that we should cease and desist?
No, not at all. I'm just saying, so I'm giving a critique from us strategically as organizers, just saying tactically, like it just doesn't look good. And so because I'm trying to win, hearts and minds, like I'm not going to do it. But if you want to, go on. And again, like if people are in this audience and they're familiar with you and a part of your community, maybe they do understand. I mean, not maybe, they probably understand you're trying to use it ironically, but even people in these comments are split on it. So I'm just kind of like, is the joke, is it even that funny? Is it worth it? But
I'm curious.
I don't know about worth it. I don't know about worth it, but it's damn funny to me. I will not lie about that.
All right.
But I hear your point. Go ahead, my bad.
I'm curious if Diallo. So for instance, I think we all hear people in the community refer to something as gay. I just heard it this past weekend. There was a group of queer folks who was saying some behaviors were gay, and they wasn't talking about, disparagingly to gay, just more so that it's whack. So Diallo, do you use that term for any reason?
To call something gay?
Yeah, like, oh, that's gay?
No.
So yeah, I mean, I think
because I think talking about gay, calling something gay and using gay as a derogatory term is an attack on gay people, whereas I think us saying pause is more of a self-mockery and acknowledgement of the within as a cisgendered heterosexual black man. When I say pause and when we go back and forth as old gray beard men, I think that is more pointing out, these hangups existed, were very prominent in our community, and there's a lot of residual and of that. And I have to fight my own peers, brothers I grew up with, my own relatives, my older brothers, and I have to challenge them. It's more so now transphobia. I've just been in spaces publicly, just with that Olympic boxer and all that shit. And I have to go up against brothers who are sincerely committed to making a positive contribution to the just aspirations of our people, who truly believe that the transgenders are taking over. So within my circles, and I feel it as an obligation as someone who came up and indoctrinated into not just homophobia, but sexism and misogyny, that as I work on my own, I have to constantly challenge and confront it amongst my peers. We got to fix us. So I don't use it in that way. But when I always talk about the hangups we have, even the brothers who are working on themselves, the hangups that still were born out of and perpetuated by my generation specifically, and the art and the literature and the books, even some of the people, icons that I read, people that I quote and promote to the community, have a lot of either blatant or residual homophobia in their writings and teachings, from Dr. Clark to Dale Jones. And even Kidi Obiawadu. You were going to have me come on and debate Kidi Obiawadu, and I thought it was weird that I was the voice in favor of LGBTQ, and you wanted me to come on and debate somebody who I've followed and respected for decades, the conscious Rasta, on that. So no, I don't use it in that way. But
real quick, Josh. So I wonder, I guess maybe even to Josh's points, like how do the audience who are regulars here feel about the phrase, and then also like somebody coming in for the first time seeing us and hearing it, would they automatically know that this is not in agreement with the origins and the type of I guess message it sends to people who are dismissive and or violent towards homophobia? So I wonder again how our audience feel about it. But then, do you think that somebody newly coming in seeing us saying pause would automatically know that we're doing it as a slight to the whole silly shit that you are trying to expose?
I would add to that, as a revolutionary or as an organizer, right? What are the things that you're putting in its place, right? So I know on a principled basis, I do see us advocate for queer and trans liberation on this platform. But when I'm talking about actual policies, right, the gay community, the LGBT community is just like this amorphous thing, right? I don't hear actual things that they're fighting for in the communities, campaigns, things of that nature. So if we're also not on here pushing organizations, pushing policy platforms, community issues that queer people are dealing with, then I also think tactically saying it's, you know, ironic or all of that just feels even weirder to me. Diallo, to your point, humor is contextual. So absolutely, like if I watch your show, that's why I can understand that you're doing it in this way. And I can even appreciate it. I think that can be counterculture too. But I do wonder if you could just do the same thing without that joke. Like if there's this potential for misinterpretation, if people in our audience who are queer are saying this feels alienating sometimes, right? And we have evidence in the chat. Why not just keep doing what you do anyway and avoid it?
Because the reason why is because you'd be surprised of how often people come to me and assert I shouldn't say this or I shouldn't say that or I shouldn't take this position or this isn't work. This is above mocking. This is above ridicule. If I was to simply capitulate, then I would not be able to say anything because just about every position I have on everything, there are people who stand in opposition. You know, I used to use. Allow me to finish.
Okay.
I used to use the word hoe. You know, and this guy's a hoe. This woman's. And my concept of hoe is people who splay themselves out for capitalism, who sell out for money. And some sisters came to me and be like, "You can't be just throwing hoe around like that." And they made a reasonable and rational argument. So now, you know, and I would normally say, well, Biden is a hoe for AIPAC. But I don't do that anymore because there was a sound, reasonable argument. And I'm down to make adjustments. But I can't just simply because I'm constantly challenged on just about every position I take. I can't simply say, oh, some people disagree with you and therefore you should change. If I function that way, just off of principalities, you know, as we started discussing, if I function that way, I would just have to just disappear from the public discourse because I couldn't say shit.
Right. But I'm asking you about this particular thing. And then I feel like I've given examples.
But I was giving you an example as a simply you asking me, well, some people don't like it, so why don't you stop? I was explaining to you why some people not liking something I say or the way I do something is not enough for me to stop. I was trying to explain to you as to why, but I also wanted to give you an example as to why I am willing to stop, but simply some people not liking it is not enough for me.
I agree. Right. I think there should be other reasons other than, you know, people not liking it and that principle. But that's why I'm coming back to like the strategy of it all. And again, so there's a perfect example. I gave the Boondocks example of like me being in a room full of black boys, being a black boy myself, and hearing a bunch of people laugh at Riley and his homophobia, right? Aaron Magruder makes Riley's character homophobic ironically, right? It's supposed to be a joke. We're not supposed to, but kids in a homophobic society watching that, not having access to an EYL, not having access to revolutionary culture, are going to see it and laugh. And so that's everyone, years later, you see nigga you gay used homophobically. So again, we can talk about the artist's intent, but I'm talking about the impact in the society we live in. First of
all, nigga you gay predates the Boondocks, number one. Number two, I never watched Boondocks because of the classes and anti-black components of it. So
okay, but millions of black boys did.
That's not the point. Yeah. But, so my question would be then, one, as an artist, is Magruder to be held responsible for the negative responses of some of his audience or the incorrect responses from his audience, even his future audience that wasn't even born when he created it? And then separately, to what extent are we to be judged differently as wannabe organizers, revolutionaries, not just artists, where I, even self-critically draw a distinction between, well, there are things I would do here if this was just my show that I won't do because it's part of a broader mission, as opposed, even if it wasn't part of a broader platform, I wouldn't just do them because I think we should engage these spaces for different reasons. At the same time, I do tend towards, at times, immaturity and even irresponsibility in the eyes of some, at least, myself included, here and there. So I'm just wondering. So those questions
immediately.
Please.
That's a great point, and it speaks to like a lot of what the MLSmith project is about, right? With this history. So if it's just an artist, right, an artist in a capitalist economy, bourgeois artist, whatever, like the sellouts we talk about, then sure. But Aaron Magruder did not market himself as just an artist. He marketed himself as a conscious artist. We talk about his critiques of media. You guys were doing it on Saturdays with Renee. So he is seen as more legitimate than somebody who's just making art like that Steph Curry whatever show that we watched, that Netflix thing y'all couldn't get through, right? That's not the same thing. Boondocks is seen as like good cultural commentary. The Obama episode is still important and good, right? So the fact that we always talk about what's more dangerous is the things you like, the things that the bad shit's mixed in. Aaron Magruder, because he did not fully have the radical politics that Diallo would talk about, right? He is putting content in there, and he is not conscious enough to do that in a reasonable way. The same way he depicts black women in that show is terrible. So like Diallo, you point out classism's in that show, misogyny is in that show, homophobia is in that show. Why? Well, if you look at a storyteller, he's a comrade. He has a whole thing on the Boondocks. I actually want him on the platform. He talks about this. You can go back to Magruder's news columns in like college, and he was talking about the honeys this and the women are all on me, and to be a revolutionary, you can't touch the ladies. You know what I mean? So when we're talking about who he is, he's not just an artist. He's a conscious artist, and we have to deconstruct that a lot. So,
but I don't think you should be watching or even boosting the Boondocks.
It's not about me. It's about the environment we're in.
That's
like that's what I'm saying. Because like,
but it's the same way, Diallo, that we wait. It's the same way, Diallo, that we respond to and criticize pop culture. We're not doing it to re-promote it. We're doing it because it's already there, having an impact. And to Josh's point, students, even in my classrooms, will reference that.
But again, I still listening for.
I hope the Diallo interrupting counters are counting today. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead, Diallo. Go ahead. Continue.
I didn't know I was interrupting you. I thought I was.
You didn't?
I apologize for interrupting you. I was trying to respond to something you said.
Go ahead, man.
When I mentioned the Boondocks, you were actually, I was re-interrupting your interruption, but go on.
Go ahead, man. Finish.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No. I'm not going to interrupt. That's something I will acknowledge and change.
Oh.
Something that some people don't like.
All right, so now that Derek gave you the floor, you're not interrupting, so go ahead.
All I was going to continue to say, just to complete the thought, was that students, multiple generations later, having not even been alive when Magruder created, or when particularly the cartoon took off as a TV show, they reference it. So I think it is worthy of commentary, and that's how I think Josh is bringing it up here. Not that we should, not to big it up and to give it an uncritical run. Okay, Diallo, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm finished.
All right. Taking it back to the rationale and the argument itself. Josh, can you concretely say that the word pause, independent of us and our usage, is harmful to that to the community, and the way that we use it perpetuates and helps to sustain that harm?
I would say that's a more complicated question, which is why I was trying to be dialectical along the way. The first thing is absolutely true. Like I already said, in a homophobic society, if you use something that way, then yes. But as far as your usage, like I said, contextually on your show and in spaces like this, 100%, I think it's counterculture, and I can appreciate the use of pause. But generally, I think the risk of being misinterpreted and all of that is just not worth it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that you can't use it in a counterculture way, or that you're using it to be harmful. But again, as like, this is just a pattern among people from a dominant identity versus marginalized identity. This, like, I feel like I should be able to say this. That kind of energy is what I am feeling from this space. I'm not saying that's what you're trying to give, but that's where it's going to be interpreted, right? And that's where a lot of men from your generation are seen as coming, which is like, I will die on this hill off principle. Why can't I say this? And
Well,
so,
I actually,
I think feelings are important, but I did give you your objective, rational,
I haven't gotten that because, like you said, I asked you if it was harmful, and you was like, "Well, in a certain way, it can be." Like you gave a definitive yes, and then you kind of started to dilute that.
No, I said your use. Do you ask if your use of pause?
Homophobic. No, you qualified it. You said in a homophobic society.
No, you said you had two parts. You said pause generally, and you said your use.
In a homophobic society, Josh, in a homophobic society, the word natural is used against the gay community. The family and family values is used against the gay community. So almost any term or concept, because like you said, in a homophobic society, in a racist society, in this racist society, urban and inner city were racist dog. Now woke is a racist dog whistle. So in that context, if you were to use where you say, well, pause itself in the certain context in a homophobic society, then you're going away. So then we have to back up and say, yes, in a homophobic society, I agree with you. Anything can be weaponized against vulnerable and targeted and isolated communities. Anything, any concept, any word.
So Diallo, how do you
so how do we determine? Can we use the word natural or family or family values, because those have been used to attack the gay community?
But Diallo, I think that question could and should be answered by you in terms of how do we determine if how we use it is coming off the way we want it to come off and how it is impacting our audience. Like, do you have the answer to that? Like how it impacts our audience?
Do I have the answer to how we use pause impacts the audience? I think Josh made it clear. There are some people that are indifferent. There are some people who find it humorous, and there's some people who are offended. But each of those groups is have not really made their position. To me, to be honest, I don't think it's worthy, because I agree that if someone come to us and say, hey, you're using pause, and that could be problematic, I have no problem with people doing that. And Jared explained his motivation and where it came from. I explained my intent and context and motivation for using it. And I think people are worthy of explanation. But if you go, it is, and everyone has a right to question. But then when you move on to saying, well, we should change or make some adjustment, then I think you need to come with something stronger than just, I don't like it.
I think I have, but okay.
Yeah, and yeah, I think Josh has actually. Yeah, I agree with Josh on that point.
Yeah, his explanation is some people don't like it, and he's just restated that in various ways.
Okay, well, that's how you're hearing it.
But saying some folks might take it the wrong way, and some folks don't like it. But that's what you just keep repeating.
Sure. I will say that pause, which we started off methodologically, right, going on, looking at a definition of seeing it as an explicitly homophobic definition, usage, it's slang, and then comparing that to natural, a word that if we looked at the definition, right, I think it's a weird comparison to do that. So I just wanted to stay away. We were talking specifically about this thing. So I'm not trying to generalize to a principle, which it feels like keeps happening. I'm just specifically talking about this thing, this context, all of that. I think I made that clear. You had a two-part question. Your first one was pause general usage, and your second one was your counter-cultural usage of pause. So that's why I was addressing it two different ways. But we can, wrap it. I feel like we've covered a lot.
Jared gave us the false impression that you had apologized to us.
Oh, I apologize because I thought Geechee and y'all had prepared for this. And so I dropped this on Geechee.
Worst apologizer ever.
We having this conversation, and he was just like, I just came back. What the hell is going on? So
I literally, you know, when you get back in the country and the messages pop up, that's what happened. I was reading. I was like, wait, what? We talking about what?
So the only thing that I would want to add is that we did initially when we first started. I remember when I first clipped Cam and Mace and started playing it. We did address this and how we approached it at one point.
That's true.
Including making reference to how even Cam had linked up at some point with some popular I don't know, socialite, LGBTQ YouTuber of some kind, socialite who co-signed their use of it, saying it's not harmful and they're not offended by it. And then and we even meant, like you can always find somebody from any community that's going to say that they're not offended, but
this is true.
But at the same but that said, if there are still those in our space that are either offended or confused by or raising an eyebrow to, then I'm happy to have the critique and the discussion and maybe even reassess our approach. And if others, because I don't know to what extent our audience is offended or not, but to the extent that anyone is, I think they should be heard. We can hear it out. I'm not mad at that.
I appreciate that. I also want to just say, to be clear, like in radical learn analysis, the people we should be asking are the queer identifying members of our community. I do appreciate everybody's contribution to this, but like we're talking about the impact of the people who are marginalized by this thing.
Spokesperson, I thought you were
I said on principle from like gay Africans.
Not to call anybody out, but there's been a couple times in the chat where I've seen people who I do know identify as a member of those communities who have laughed along and even said pause in the chat.
That's true, and like you said,
so that's why I'm like, I'm not.
There are always members. There's always, so I'm open to hear the conversation.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
But Dave Chappelle and Godfrey and a lot of these right-wing comedians have their beards. They have their gay or trans performers who they use in their stand-up before them, or they use as their covers.
So then wait. So then Josh, are we saying that wait. Are we then saying that anybody from that community who finds our use of it inoffensive is a beard?
No. I'm saying that we have to be aware of that strategy.
Okay.
But also,
not us, but yes.
Also, Dave Chappelle said, "I am a TERF." So somebody that comes out and says, "I am a TERF," who is openly anti-trans, using pause. He's not seen as hostile and punching down and attacking that community, and he's not.
He didn't use pause.
He used yuck. Because he said pause. Pause is not the problem with Dave Chappelle. Huh?
He said yuck first. So my point is, I don't even want my use of pause to be categorized with his.
I was going to say
that. So that's what I'm saying.
But when you talk about, I don't know anyone. I don't know any, because like I said, I'm bumping heads with homophobes and transphobes, especially within the Pan-African community, because they are here and they are very, very vocal, and they are warmly receptive by too many people who claim to be liberation minded. But I don't know one person whose problem is pause, and someone saying pause as it would qualify anyone as being homophobic.
Well,
now there might be some homophobic people who also say pause, but to me that just, I don't just see that as a qualifier or an identifier.
Well, I mean, this is like the concept of microaggressions. I mean, it's not the problem. It would be a part of a problem.
But only when it's a part of the problem. Only when it is, though. It's a part of the problem when it's a part of the problem. And when it ain't, it ain't.
Okay. I might have lost that one, but I get you. Okay.
Well, I guess we're going to have to create a poll and give it to the
Yeah, I mean, I just, like I said, I think queer members of the community, queer radicals, queer revolutionaries, they got it. Let's do it. Let's have a poll. They can come on. I'm with it, honestly. Because I mean, this is all straight men talking about pause. So
who better to
with the voice of the
correct than those made in the image of the Almighty.
Maybe Jared was using pause to fill dead air for his old radio days.
Hey, phrasing.
There we go. I think we can, we can maybe find some common ground here. That's all. We can.
Listen, I'm not married to the word. I don't have to use it, and I'm glad to surrender it.
Give it up, brother. I'm telling you, the youth want you to throw it away. Throw it away for our descendants.
Well, like I said, the few youth that I spoke to, because I genuinely was curious, because I was equipping and arming myself for this discussion.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't know if you heard that part, but I asked I asked young people 15 and up. And I think the oldest one was 22, between 15 and 22. That I knew have a history of advocacy, allyship, activism, leftist youth, what they think. And they told me, we don't care what y'all say. You old fools.
Okay.
We don't give a shit like what you say, and let's move on. And so that was what I got feedback from the leftist youth that I'm in contact with. That
well,
I could
speaking of some,
ask that question.
What was your sample size?
What about your? They might have meant that tongue in cheek, but I'm curious about your own sons, Diallo, because like speaking of some young revolutionaries, raised by Pan-Africanists. I'm curious how your sons, because you said that they're better on gender shit. They live and breathe that because it's our generation. So I'm curious how your sons feel about like this combo. I would be curious, like your son's conversation on this or what their take is. I'm actually interested if you ever want to do that.
Have they commented on pause?
Yeah, or what their memories
my
of
younger one, it was one of the ones I asked. I didn't ask my older son, but my sons are they think I'm just a Neanderthal, like my thoughts, and I'm way behind, and I got a lot of catching up to do.
I mean, they sound like they tip of the spear, young revolutionaries, if you ask me.
Yeah. I like I said, but hey, they ain't been through what I've been through. They soft 2-parent household. You ain't been through what they've been through, though. That's like I said, I'm the only real hood cat in this household.
Oh Lord Jesus, boy, this guy.
They can't tell me nothing. But anyway, my younger son, has made it equipped because, like he has some friends that, have they them pronouns, so he's very quick to check me, and I'm good at it. I'm like an expert at it with his little friend group. And properly identifying pronouns and identities of his friend group. So I'm very good on that, only because of his checking me. And I think it's more so not to embarrass him as it is for my own enlightenment. But my sons do think that some of my positions and views are antiquated and from my era and a result of what I went through, more so than that. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I know that's
See what Diallo started.
I'm much more radical than my own father, who you would tell you he's a dyed-in-the-wool revolutionary, and he's barely a decent reactionary. So I'm way beyond. So if my sons go beyond me, hey, I'm proud of that fact that they're more progressive and forward-thinking than I am.
That means you did your job right. I was going to ask if you felt comfortable. Oh, Dr. Miguel, yeah, of course, y'all. Sorry, in the community village, the people.
I'm alpha. Didn't have no time for them kids.
Just making money, got you.
Exactly.
I was going to ask if you felt comfortable in future programs or on the Diallo show, just talking about that experience of a parent being willing to use pronouns or use your peers' pronouns. I know a lot of parents, my own, who could benefit from that conversation and from seeing someone with some gray in their beard say, "This is why I do this," and so I'd just be curious if you could do that. That's also
it's funny.
I've seen you do it in pieces, but a whole treatment, maybe Diallo treatment,
maybe. But here's the funny thing. I took my oldest son has a child, and I took him back to Kansas City, Missouri, where we're from, to show the baby around, to do the Lion King shit. It's like, here's the newest Kenyatta, and a couple of my elders took me aside. It's like, that's good, because now we know he ain't gay. I'm like, I wasn't even surprised or taken aback. If they hadn't said it, I'd be shocked. The boy had the long hair, and when he was in high school, he would paint his nails and stuff. And they were like, oh, he might have had a child early, but now at least we know he ain't gay. So that's a good thing, Congratulations. They were literally congratulating me, not on the new child, but on the fact that my son is heterosexual. So this shit, like I said, when I'm talking like that and I'm communicating, this is what I come out of. These are the men who I still look up to, I still admire, who made it possible for me to be here and guided and raised me up. And so I had to carry forth everything I carried forth from that generation that I brought to my sons. I had to edit and rework and do a lot of deleting and redacting, So that's the generational thing.
Yeah. And y'all are that to me. Well, not Geechee, he's close to my age, but y'all are that to me in a lot of ways. So that's why, I try and bring the analysis and my thoughts and things like that. But I appreciate that.
Yeah. Geechee's gonna get there.
That was a slide. I'm a little offended. I'm a little offended. Josh taking shots.
I did find a gray hair the other day. I just won.
It's okay. I'm gonna be up soon too. Can't wait.
All right.
Don't
Well,
do it. Reconsider. Read some litter.
See, even that reference.
Yeah, wow.
So can we ask the question?
we have not covered other than my complaints about what my mother's been experiencing. I don't think we've done. I haven't seen a sustained look at that.
And we need to talk about iatrogenesis.
The nursing home crisis.
We need to talk about nursing homes specifically, but iatrogenesis particularly. And of course, when you really get to the root of, it's profit and capitalism.
What's that word? I don't know. Iatrogenesis? I'm never.
That's the harm, the injury and death that occurs as a result of treatment.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
There are some studies that show upwards of 70% of people that develop some life-threatening ailment, whether it's an injury or a disease, upwards of 70% of them can be identified as dying as a result of treatment as opposed to their injury or disease. Iatrogenesis is a serious problem that Baba Kidi Owadu, with his homophobic self, has done probably some of the best like radical research on. But then I don't like his solutions. A lot of times people analyze a problem, then they tell you eat raw fruits and do push-ups. That's the solution.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna do his 100 push-ups a day and do
right. So
Jared's homeboys running in Speedos in the morning.
But anyway, yeah, the nursing home, because I'm not
phrasing.
The nursing home that was literally I think was a victim of iatrogenesis as opposed to the cancer. So yeah, that is something that we haven't touched on, but
no, it sounds.
Yeah, I'm with you, Renee. Josh's value just went up by admitting he didn't know something.
That's not alpha. See, that's why you need to hang with us.
No. They're on.
You don't
Diallo, again, you got to keep up with the times. They're on Sigma now. Sigma. They got all sorts of Greek letters for these men. Come on, man. Alphas. That's old.
Well, yeah. Sigma is the top. Now, Sigma. Jared and I can't be Sigma because we're in intimate relationships with women because Sigma is so far beyond because he.
Wait, that's a negative?
No, you got to be so revolutionary.
You're weak. How can you lay up with a soft, squishy woman? That's weakness. Sigma don't need love.
So who am I supposed to be laid up with?
Yourself. You so straight. You don't even love women, man.
The alpha male required is in a prominent position to carry favor of the opposite sex.
Wait, you supposed to be so straight that you are alone?
Because you got your mastery of self, Jared. Come on.
You went straight into asexual.
Mastery is right. Mastery is right. No, I'm good.
The desire for sexual gratification weakens in distraction.
Thank you. Diallo's on it. Diallo knows.
Say that again, Diallo. Say that again.
I said the need and desire for sexual gratification and intimacy weakens and distracts you.
Wait, Sigma male, that's not what you said in your Black Love talk.
No, that's the Sigma. You know, the boxers, they know that because they retain their semen before a fight. And that's the way, you know what I mean? You're not on it.
Y'all read Mantak Chia?
Come on.
So we're supposed to be in a permanent state?
Come on, like
ready to fight like that?
But it's too late for us,
not ready for this.
Geechee, you got a chance.
I'm not.
Leave these girls alone. It's too late.
Yeah, I'm
the highest we can aspire to is alpha.
Nah,
that's the highest we can go, Jared.
Yeah,
it's alpha.
You guys got next generation.
I don't even want
Josh,
that. Now, leave me.
So y'all two don't have no material benefits, no elevation to your life because of your wives?
Yeah, but we weak. Yeah.
No, but nothing.
That's a sign of weakness.
That's gynocentric, Geechee. That's their problem.
That's right. Yeah.
Happily married with children, gynocentric men. That sounds very.
So the highest we can go is alpha.
Inspiring.
If you can let go of your desire for women and feminine comforts and feminine intimacy, then you can elevate to Sigma status.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Winnie was holding Nelson back. You guys got to come on.
See, that's how that works. Yeah. So y'all ain't even ready. But like I said, me and Jared are working alpha status. We can get no further.
My bad. All right. Leave me. I know. I missed my chance.
Listen to Winnie. Diallo wouldn't be calling him a traitor and all other stuff.
You weak.
Damn. I'm definitely behind. I didn't know it was like that. I didn't know we had gone that far.
And I have to run, y'all.
All right, we can wrap.
No, this was great, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Josh.
Back, Geechee, back from Guantanamo. You helped to secure the confession of Khalid Muhammad. It's funny that the
how did you know I went to Guantanamo?
To get a confession out of Khalid Sheikh Muhammad. It took him 20
how
years.
did you know I went to Guantanamo?
In Cuba.
No. Time out. What
you doing down there?
Why? How did you know I was in Guantanamo? That's what I need to know. How did you know I was over there? Because I know there was surveillance on their side, looking at our side. So how did you know I was there?
From the ether.
Oh, we gonna talk about this next week.
I'm just saying, congratulations on securing that confession in Cuba.
I mean, it's interesting that you knew where I was at. And nobody else knows.
He with police chiefs in
Chicago
knows where Diallo
a month
is
before you left. What are you talking about?
I ain't saying nothing about Guantanamo. Cuba is a large country that go multiple
really
places.
large.
Santiago, Havana.
Cuba is a small island nation. It's not a large. It's a small.
It's large enough for you to go to other places in Guantanamo, Diallo.
But why did this man who didn't confess for 20 years, Geechee lands on the island, and within a week he told it all? I'm just saying, 2 + 2. Does it still equal 3 or not?
No, Terrence Howard said 1 × 1 is 1. It was
again,
2.
Our brothers.
No, 1 + 1 = 3. Because you take a man and a woman and they have a child, that's 3. So
Josh, we need something of you, Josh. We just now found out that one of our people's an agent, so we don't want to take our agent down there to skip. So would you like to replace this brother in our trip to Mississippi? Because I
don't like the South anyway. I would love to.
We can't take snitches to Jackson.
Stay above the Mason-Dixon line.
There's too much revolutionary shit down happening in Jackson.
I will, like I said. I want them wire rim glasses racist. I don't want them overalls and combat boot racist.
Yep.
All right. Well, as everybody gets attuned and gets their perfectly prescribed racism, piece, if you wanted to fight for it, like I did. I showed it. The link will be in the show description.
Showing that, can you?
I'll go out. I'll leave that up. I'll leave that information up.
Liberation Crew. Rational Radicals. We're gonna have a live broadcast going to the show.
Y'all do war with the comments.
Radio Free Africa is releasing. I've heard the album. I heard an advanced copy. Diallo Kenyatta. If you want a bootleg copy, if you ain't into this capitalist infrastructure, and you want to, circumvent.
You bootlegging this man's music while he's in the chat.
Blame him. You robbing this man.
Blame him. I'm a G. You know where I'm from. I'm from the streets. And you're sending me an advanced copy of an album, and I'm not supposed to get a little bag off the side. Anyway, it is a magnificent album. And I tell y'all, if it was sucked, I sucked. I was looking for things to hate on and couldn't find nothing. That album is a freaking masterpiece. I don't know what the hell. I think it's because he's an alpha now. He can't be Sigma. He's happily married too. So he really came up with some. He blew up.
Diallo corrected himself. Good job, Diallo.
Yes, I fixed it. Got it.
You didn't use the word.
I told you, Josh. Let him talk long enough.
I was so proud, y'all. Look at this progress. Look at this.
Look, Josh came and pulled Diallo left.
And go down and download Sheun Kuti's 2 new singles off his new album that hasn't released yet. Day with Damian Marley and Top. 2 dope songs. We sick ball. So anyway, I think those are all the plugs I got.
All right, everybody. Make sure the bell is rung. Support the platform. Thank you, Josh. Thanks to ML. We'll see you all next week with more.
You got to earn your liberation.